Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
Joined once again, and we decide, you know what? We're going to go literally back in time with a movie that was ginormous for the 90s. Like, really, like,
Huge.
almost one of the biggest fucking films ever. And it's almost kind of forgotten nowadays. Like, nobody really brings this up too often. But we decided to go with the 1991 film Backdraft.
You know, it makes me sad that you brought that up because I was thinking that while watching it because, okay, so my brother Matt was a firefighter at one point, and that was his favorite movie of all time. Backdraft and Pure Country, for whatever reason. Pure Country's fucking stupid, but Backdraft is dope, right?
Is Pure Country the one with John Travolta?
No. It's like Urban Cowboy.
I don't know why I always get that confused.
Yeah, Pure Country's the one with George Strait, and he plays like, oh god, it's so dumb. It's a funny watch just because of how stupid it is. But
might have to pull that out at some point. I feel like that movie keeps coming up somehow, some way.
Dude, I forgot how many stars were in Backdraft. I mean, I watched it a ton as a kid.
Yeah,
but I mean, I was like as soon as Donald Sutherland showed up, and I was like, oh, I forgot about him with this crazy firebug role.
Yeah, he loves fire a lot.
Right? And like, I don't know why I forgot Robert De Niro was in it. Like, how the fuck do you forget Robert De Niro?
Well, he's like the Anne character too, because it's like one of those ones when you're watching those intro credits. That's the same thing too. I forgot all about that. I remember Kurt Russell, and I remember there being a Baldwin in it. That was all I could think about.
One of 600 Baldwins was in that film.
Exactly. And but beyond that though, it's like I thought about. I'm like, I haven't seen this movie probably since the '90s, because I remember watching a bunch as a kid, but then I don't think I've seen it like in almost 20 years at least, you know, so it was almost kind of fresh watching it again. You remember a couple parts in there, but yeah, seeing that list of actors and and then it's like, by the way, after all this huge ginormous list, it's like, now you got Kurt Russell, you got William Baldwin, you know, you had Donald Sutherland, you had Jennifer Jason Leigh, who's, you know, in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and Hateful Eight, and there's that one Flesh and Blood where she just gets
back when she was super hot too. Let's be honest, like 1990s Jennifer Jason Leigh, like she was, you know, undeniable. Like she was the it girl.
Yeah. So you have all these people in there, and then it's like, and by the way, and Robert De Niro just to top it off.
Dude, and then I forgot, and it pisses me off. Like he's one of those guys. We've you know, Dick rode Ben Foster enough times on podcasts together, and who else? William H.C. Macy. Why am I forgetting his name? Steve Buscemi. These character actors, right? That pop up in so many films, and eventually they start building a big name. Scott Glenn.
Yep.
Is the bad guy in it. Dude, he's amazing. He's one of my favorite actors, and I forget about him all the time. I feel like an asshole.
Hey, that's just kind of how it is. Then you see him, and you're like, oh, dude, there he is, you know, and so on. And it's that one where, like, I was kind of watching it again. I was trying to piece together what kind of happens. It's like, well, he mostly always does play some kind of villain in a movie. I'm like, I can't remember him, but he might be the guy who's jacking it up in this one. It's like, oh, yeah, lo and behold, he is. But, yeah, no, he's in there, too. And, yeah, this movie's just ginormous, you know. Of course, you got old Ron Howard, Opie, directing it up, you know.
Right.
Richie Cunningham coming at you. And
we're gonna have fire over here.
yeah, we're gonna have lots of fire, and I'm surprised actually it's not like produced by George Lucas or something like that, because it seems like all the Ron Howard stuff always has a little bit of George like hovering over.
Right, help me, George.
You're my only hope.
Dude, back to Scott Glenn real quick, because I had to go in and like once I saw him in there, and it's like, you know, most recent Scott Glenn stuff is probably like the Daredevil series. He plays Stick.
Oh yeah,
and he's like the perfect interpretation of that character. Anyways, so I'm like, damn, I need to like, you know, let's start going through the Scott Glenn, you know, filmography and like make some, you know, recommendations for the future that I want to watch. Apparently there's a Wild Geese 2 starring Scott Glenn.
Well, I remember there was the Wild Geese 2, but I didn't realize it had Scott Glenn. It has somebody else in there too, because I remember sort of looking at that, and I was just like,
Patrick Stewart.
Really? Oh, we're gonna have to watch Wild Geese too. I don't know. Maybe it goes
That's
even
what
more
I
Metal Gear.
said. That's what I said. I was like, what's going on here? Like, all these worlds are connecting right now. What was the other one? The Right Stuff? I know you've seen it. It's been a long time.
Yeah. That's a good one too. God, I forgot he's in the. See, that's the thing about him. He's a great actor, but then you kind of forget he's in a movie. But then when you see him pop up, you get excited.
Exactly. So I wrote down a bunch of Scott Glenn flicks that I'm gonna go back and watch.
Well, I'm totally down for a lot of those. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
You know,
Wild Geese 2 at the top of the list.
I'm 100% down for that. I think I remember looking that one up when we did do the first movie, and I remember like the Wild Geese 2 was like not really playing anywhere. It was like one of those movies we're gonna have to track down a little bit to find it, but you never know.
Hey, if I have to go hit up some flea markets, I don't care. As soon as I saw Scott Glenn's like one of the stars, I was like, okay, that's interesting. And just scrolling through, and I see Patrick Stewart as Russian general. I was like, fucking sign me up, brother.
Oh, I'm there.
Let's go.
That's badass. Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, even just going into Backdraft, it is kind of a time trip too, because it really does take you back in time. And did you ever go to the Backdraft ride at Universal Studios back in the day when it still existed?
Yeah, I did.
And that thing I thought was so cool, and that's I always think about that every time I go to Universal Studios. I go, man, right here, this is where the Backdraft exhibit used to be at. It's not here anymore. And you would go inside, and they would have the barrels blowing up like in the movie, and you get the fire show and whatnot. It's probably one of those ones like out of context. It probably is kind of a weird ride if you just walk in there like, what am I doing? Is this safe to be in this building? Why is everything blowing up and there's fire everywhere?
Well, that was the ride, and then movie as well that made my brother want to be a firefighter. Yeah, so I remember sitting in that line, and it's like, you will be exposed to extreme heat. You'll be face to face with fiery explosions. You're like, oh fuck, this is gonna get real.
This heat's gonna be so extreme that you might even piss your pants.
I don't remember sitting, but I'm sure you probably were, huh? Because I remember you're on like a catwalk.
I think
you're on a catwalk, right?
Yeah, because it's kind of like one of those ones where like you walk through a line, if I remember correctly, and then it's just like, and then there's just stuff that blows up. I almost want to say there's some actors that kind of run by in fire suits and so on like that. Kind of like the Terminator 2 ride that used to be at Universal. But as I said, I can't remember exactly. I meant to kind of look it up because every once in a while I've gone down the rabbit hole of like, there's people that have like their VHS recording of like going through the rides. Like, you can watch the old Jurassic Park in its original version. There's the E.T. ride that doesn't exist anymore and so on. And I remember one night I was just watching a bunch of them over and over, just being like, wow, that's so cool. Like, do I miss that one and so on. And then I went deeper in the rabbit hole, and I realized that if you go to some of the other Universals and like other countries, they sometimes still have a lot of the rides. Like you could still find the ET ride at like Universal, like Shanghai, and I'm pretty sure there was a Backdraft one somewhere. Still, it's like there's some of those foreign ones. They just keep them all going.
I'm sure it was like god awfully expensive in a place like California to like use up that much fuel.
Yeah, I bet.
Just, explosions left and right. But I remember like good bits of it. I remember there's a part where they show, like in the film, where I think it's William Baldwin, where he's like all freaking out, like his first fire run with Bull. At least that's what I'm going to refer to Kurt Russell's character.
Yeah. It's on the back of his jacket.
Yeah, it's cool as fuck. But he's like on the ground, he looks up and you see the fire crawl across the ceiling. I remember they had that special effect in there, and then they had barrels exploding. They did the fire tornado.
Yeah, they had a little fire tornado. That's right. Yeah. They pretty much, it was just like a special effects show was kind of what it broke down to, and
which is cool as hell.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite stuff about Universal is when they kind of had like the shows. Like, you know, at that same time period, they used to have the Wild Wild West show or whatever it was, where it was just a bunch of stunts and cowboys shooting each other and falling off the 3-story buildings and so on like that. And I was like, this is badass. You know, like the only thing that's really left of that kind of style still is, of course, the Waterworld ride, which still blows my mind that that's kind of still there too, because we all know that what happens is that movies kind of get forgotten and then they get replaced. I mean, and even the biggest of the big movies, like Back to the Future and everything like that, you know, it's like at some point it got kind of forgotten and replaced.
Right. No, I mean, that's a good point. Of all movies, Waterworld.
Yeah, that's the one.
I mean, I love it. I love Waterworld, but I mean, it's not, you know, it's pretty maligned out there in, you know, the film world.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. In Halloween, they took the Waterworld ride and they converted it over to like this Purge version that was done at nighttime, and it was actually kind of cool because it was completely different. It wasn't like it was just the Waterworld one with like a, you know, Purge theme. It's like no, they changed the whole play up and everything like that. And they, you know, when people got shot, they had big old like squibs busting out and everything, so there's blood and guts everywhere. It was pretty, you know, like this is badass.
That's cool as hell.
You know, so there's some kind of neat stuff there. I know the other thing with the Backdraft one is that was the first time they made a ride based off a rated R movie.
Really?
Yeah. Well, then again, they have the Psycho House, but I guess that's on the tram tour, so maybe that's not considered a ride.
Because the tram tour is such a bastard of a ride now. It's so ridiculous.
You know what's the weirdest thing though is the more I've rode that over time is sometimes you go on different paths, and there's sometimes it's like I've probably rode that like 8 times in my entire life, and every once in a while it's like, dude, there's a new path I've never seen before. Like all of a sudden it goes somewhere else. Yeah, and I didn't realize at first, but I'm like, oh, we start every once in a while they'll take you on like different sections. It's like, oh, here's a completely different part of the park. You know, it's, you know, not, you know, there's the standard stuff. Of course, you're going to see Jaws. You're going to have like well, they have the modern King Kong one. I miss the old King Kong where it's just a giant animatronic ape. You know, you got the, you know, part where it floods and all that kind of stuff. Of course, the Psycho House. But yeah, there's sometimes where it's like it'll go through sort of slightly different areas. Sometimes it'll go by like where they have like the old cars and everything like that. So they got the Jurassic Park ones there, and of course they have the Fast and Furious ones now and some other things. But yeah, it was just kind of neat. That's what makes it always kind of fun. You just never know what you're going to find on that tram ride.
The Fast and the Furious part is what, you know, that's a newer edition, and I'm just like, oh God, why?
Well,
you know, Vin Diesel comes rolling up, boom,
yeah, and he's like swinging on like stuff. It's like, it's so weird. And now they're putting a Fast and the Furious roller coaster in, because remember it was right next to like the Jurassic Park ride. I was like, oh shit, what's that being built there and everything like that. And then you had to look it up, and it's like, oh, it's a Fast and Furious. Oh. Well, it feels like that's a little too late for that ride, because by the time that comes out, I mean, what are they going to do? One more movie, and then let's be honest, it's going to be probably like the end for a while. And I'm not saying anything against the movies, but I'm just saying, like, you just got to kind of think of it like just like Backdraft, just like many of the, you know, even E.T. and Back to the Future, things that you would thought lasted forever, and like they eventually kind of fade out of their popularity for the general public, you know. And yeah, they just don't last long enough.
It would have been perfect, you know, after like maybe like Fast 5 or Fast and Furious or whatever their fucking naming convention is. But, you know, they have one more film, and basically they're like putting all their hopes on The Rock. Like, come on, Rock, you know, help us make some money actually at the box office. The last one sucked.
Well, the last one I thought was like, I'm like, this is gonna be it. We're gonna be done. We're gonna be out of here. Cool. I'm fine. I just want to see how it ends. And I was like, oh, it leaves off in a cliffhanger. What the hell is this? I thought this was it.
I have a buddy, and I have a buddy who watched it, right? And I was like, man, they keep getting more and more ridiculous to where like it's becoming less of like just a fun action flick, you know, to like, you know, almost like a bad, for all the wrong reasons, a comedy movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so outlandish, it's a comedy.
Yeah, they did become really goofy. I mean, they're still fun. I'm not going to deny. Every single time I watch them, I'm like, I always have a good time, you know, no matter what. They're so far from the first 3, you know, that we're all about, like, you know, the street racing and all that kind of stuff.
Because who wrote the first one? I keep forgetting his name.
Well, I know that the dude that directed it is the guy who did Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. I know it's like the weirdest go-to, but
The dude who wrote it is the same guy who wrote Training Day.
Yes.
David Ayer or something.
Yeah, David Ayer. Yeah, David Ayer. I forgot he wrote it. Yeah, that's right.
Right. So you listen to him talk about, and he's like, I wrote this about outlaw street gangs. You know, they're ripping off VCRs and shit. You know, they're just living their hood rat life. You know, things I learned about, you know, growing up on the streets of LA. And he's like, now they're fucking punching torpedoes.
Well, it's so weird because it's like literally like the first movie's like it's all about like stealing like VCRs and DVD players.
Right.
And then next thing you know, they're battling intergalactic like terrorists almost in a sense across space. So it's just getting there. Well, speaking of which, it's also even got Kurt Russell in it, you know. So.
Right. Yeah. He is in it. I forgot.
Because it kind of became like the other Expendables there for a while, where it's just like, oh, who are they going to get this time?
Right.
You know,
definitely trying to steal some of that Expendables magic.
Yeah, the same way that the Machete movies were kind of like, they were kind of like in an Expendables way too. You just didn't know, you're like, who's going to be in the next one, and so on. But I guess no real different than Backdraft, because, you know, Backdraft's got that huge cast, especially for like 91. And I mean, a lot of the guys in there they're already pretty big. I mean, William Baldwin's probably like the newest face, you know, in a sense.
Right.
And the interesting thing too is apparently there's a lot of dudes that tried out for that role. Like Brad Pitt did, Tom Cruise did, a bunch of big people, and they went with William Baldwin. You know,
that was like peak of William Baldwin's like popularity and fame too, though.
That's
like
true.
That run of '90s films.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't have amazing credits to his names. His best movies are Backdraft, and then, you know, he is the fourth man on the listing for Flatliners. Those are like his two biggest films.
That's
you know
right.
I mean? You can't, you know, like, I feel sorry for him. I mean, you're in Flatliners, you got Julia Roberts, you got Kevin Bacon, and then you got Queefer Sutherland, you know, queefing up the spotlight.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. What are you going to do? Yeah, you're definitely like the fourth wheel there, so.
Right. But I mean, great film.
Yeah, no, amazing one. Like, I haven't seen that one in a long time either, but yeah, that was a cool one. And I mean, once again, William Baldwin, like he works well in this one. You know, he's playing Kurt Russell's brother, because that's really what the movie kind of breaks down. It's like a brother piece where, you know, at first they start off and it's like it's 1971 or something like that, and they're just like the two kids hanging out at the fire station. Yeah, and it's a little bit confusing because Kurt Russell literally plays two characters in this movie.
Kurt Russell literally dies twice.
Yeah, literally. You know, so you got father figure Kurt Russell, and you know he's the father one because he's got a mustache and a pretty solid mustache too. You know, it's 1971 and whatnot, and it's got this kind of goofy like take your kid to work day almost. So it's just like, come on, you know, like what's William Baldwin's name really quickly? Brian. He's like, come on, Brian, come ride the fire truck. I'll let you pull the siren and everything. You know, and it's, you know, let's just go. Let's go see what Dad does. For some reason, like the other brother stays behind. I can't remember exactly why, but.
Because his name's Steven. It's fucking dumb, which is why he goes by Bull.
Yeah, Bull. Yeah, yeah. Bull just stays behind. It's probably this is why he's so pissy. You know, at the end, he's like, he could have been riding them there, pulling the siren. You know, handed Dad a beer while he's putting out the fire.
Dude, that's the other thing I did not remember from that film as a kid. I was like, God damn, fucking Kurt Russell's character, Steven, that character, he's like a degenerate alcoholic.
Yeah, he is.
Fucked up. He's fucked up in that film.
Yeah, he's like so bad that like his wife, he literally is like, she's like, no, you get out of here. You go live in that dirty old boat that you guys have from your father.
Yeah, you go be homeless, bitch.
Because that's pretty much what it is. He's just like living on like the side, like, I don't know, some dock area of like Chicago in this boat, you know, just drinking alcohol like it's going out of style. And for some reason, he's got all these flammables in there too.
Right. Drunk all the time. His fire crew doesn't trust him anymore because he's like a fucking lunatic. Basically wants to die.
Yeah. He's almost like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon 1. where like nobody wants
yeah.
to work with him anymore. Yeah, he's just almost like suicidal in a sense, except for in this one he'll take risks and so on like that, kind of like, because that's how like the father figure was, the father Kurt Russell version, which is kind of confusing once again, but like, because when he's fighting that in the 71 and whatnot, he literally like jumps across a whole like stairwell or whatnot across and then goes inside, but then there's this giant explosion that blows out the window and so on and takes him out,
Right.
And then some hippie photographer really takes advantage of this and goes, hey, there's a kid standing there crying about his dad, I'm gonna get a fucking Pulitzer Prize for this.
Right, yeah.
Probably that kid saw none of that money on the cover of Life magazine, and you got nothing for it.
And on top of it, Kurt Russell, the son Kurt Russell, not father Kurt Russell. Son Kurt Russell.
It's so weird because I can't think
the worst fire advice.
What's the fire advice he gives again?
There's a part where they're running up the stairs and there's just a random explosion from nowhere. And Brian is the younger brother, right?
Yeah.
Brian like falls down or ducks down. He's like, a hot fire, watch out. And Steven Bull basically goes like, don't ever show the fire, you're afraid of it. you gotta show the fire, you have no fear.
Yeah, you gotta grab it by the fucking balls.
Yeah, it's like, what? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, this movie does have like almost a weird, almost supernatural, spiritual feeling to the fire.
Right.
They make the fire like it's like a villain. And I think this almost kind of created, in a sense, this genre of, because, the movie's in a sense like a disaster movie. It's like a mixed match. It's like a drama, kind of espionage, but then like sort of it has a lot of disaster movie elements in a sense to it too, just like on a smaller scale, but no different than like the way that Twister sort of is, where it feels like they make those tornadoes sort of
Peak.
Yep, where it feels like it's almost like it's like totally man versus nature, but nature's kind of like it knows what's up, and so
there's a fundamental element that's basically almost like its own character in a way.
Yeah, because there's some really cool scenes, especially when it gets kind of further on, because the interesting thing about this movie is it does have this thing where it starts off, it just feels like it's sort of like a brother drama, like, they haven't really seen each other in a long time, William Baldwin's, he's going to join the force, be part of like the family legacy, but Bull's like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, you sure you can handle this, because he's been away for like, what, like, is he go like to college or something like that? He hasn't been here for
no idea.
I can't remember where
he left or something.
He left, he knows Jennifer Jason Leigh for some reason from back in the day, but they never really explain, they just got some connection and whatnot, and he's like, I guess I'll just take the family job of firefighter, two McCaffreys in the firehouse.
Right. I have to know, Bull. Oh, that's a line from the movie.
Yeah, there's just that. But then like it's got so you have the brother drama, and that's their kind of back and forth and so on like that. But then the other story, because it's almost like a couple stories in one that just eventually interconnect, is you have Robert De Niro's character, and he's literally like this fire investigator guy, and he's believing that all these like fire incidents that keep happening and whatnot, he's like, oh, somebody's doing this, there's some arson involved and so on like that, and we got to investigate this because I think there's some some shenanigans going on here in Chicago and whatnot. And one of the cool scenes
and
is that
he's the one who introduces the fire as a character too. Like,
yes,
it's from him.
Yeah, because he has a cool like little like sort of monologue where he's just chewing scenery, and he literally is just explaining like, hey, the fire's alive, it breathes, it feels, it moves.
The animal. Doesn't he call it the animal? Yeah,
I think he does, because he it's almost like Robert De Niro's character is like a hunter, but a hunter of fire.
Right, dude. Right, 100%. What does he say? He's like the animal. It's like, does the animal like burn up the door frame because of liquids and fire and inertia, or does it burn up it because it wants to?
Yeah,
fire does what it wants. The animal consumes.
Yeah, it's literally like Michael Douglas fighting the lions and fucking a Ghost in the Darkness.
Ghost in the Darkness. Fuck, I love that movie.
Such a good movie. I fucking love that one. But that's sort of what it reminded me of. It was like Robert De Niro reminded me of like he was like the hunter character of this, you know, or almost like the dude in like Lost World who's like he's like out there to really like hunt the T-Rex. He could care less about whatever engine's doing, but he's like, I'm out here to get me a T-Rex, the greatest animal to fight.
I need the biggest game.
I just want to get him, put his cock on my wall. It's like, that's a female T-Rex. Oh, I'll find the cock.
Oh, I gotta kill Nora.
But then like, you know, at some point William Baldwin goes like, you know what, this fire thing's just not for me. I don't like hanging out with my brother, and this is a lot of hard work, and we had to carry a hose up like, you know, 10 flights of stairs, and somehow
He
just like
fall on the stairs.
Yeah, he made me fall on the stairs, you know, and somehow, some way, I can't even really remember exactly how it is, but he just like quits at one point. He's like, I'm gonna go work for Robert De Niro and just do some investigation instead. You know, they probably have like some kind of like mid-movie argument or something. It just didn't seem like it was enough. It's just all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I have a new job. I know I was only working here for like a week, you know, and granted, when he is working there, they're kind of like, you know, he's getting ragged on for being the new guy. Of course, they're in a fire, and he goes to save, you know, what he thinks is a lady and whatnot, and he comes out with a mannequin, and everybody takes a picture of him. He's like, hey, it's the Life magazine guy saving a fucking mannequin.
Right. Which that part always annoyed me, because I'm like, how does he not know it's a fucking mannequin?
Yeah, I guess it's just
they
in the
weigh
moment.
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely have a different feel. Believe me, I know, because I remember one time when in San Francisco, I was like walking up and there was a store going out of business and it said free mannequins, and I was like, that sign just say fucking free mannequins, like.
Yes, please.
Yeah, give me one of those. And then it literally started to bring out people from out of the woodworks, because they'd come up and be like, I heard you have a mannequin. Be like, whoa, you back off there, buddy. That's our mannequin.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I was like, and how did you know? Yeah.
That's so weird, dude.
So yeah, he saves a mannequin, you know. In a sense, it's kind of just showing there's a lot of things he does where it's just like, the fire game's not necessarily for him. He's just kind of thinking he has to do it because it's a family tradition and whatnot. He even meets, like, for some reason in like the shower room, you know, they have the boy from Iron Eagle in there too. They add another character to the roster. What the hell's that dude? I think it's Jason Gedrick, the main character from Iron Eagle, because he's there in the shower just, you know, naked right next to William Baldwin. He's talking about how much he fucking loves the fire and how like this is the greatest fucking thing ever, and he's like, he gets fucking off. He's like 2 steps away from just beating off in the front of the fire. Right.
He's a little too excited for shower time.
Yeah, he's really too excited about the fire and way too excited about being, you know, naked with a bunch of dudes there and so on like that, telling about how much he loves the fire, which I believe he is the guy, if I'm not mistaken, where like a fire a little bit later after this they go to. There's a handful of fires.
He's the one that gets jacked by the backdraft. Yeah.
Yep, he gets jacked by the backdraft because we're like Kurt Russell's character. Bull's like, he's like, whoa, like, don't go next to that door. You know what I mean? It's like, you feel it first, and the guy opens it, and the pressure comes out with the oxygen, and boom, explodes out the backdraft. So if you were wondering,
back to the shower scene. Back to the shower scene. What's really disconcerting about that scene is they're the only 2 fuckers in that shower room, and he picked the shower next to William Baldwin. I don't know if you noticed that, but you should go back and watch that scene again.
Yeah, there's only like 16 like different like shower stalls he could kind of go to.
Yeah. I had to rewind it because when it first cuts to that scene, it's like, you know, wide angle, the whole shower room, and there's no one in there, just those 2. And then it zooms in up on their conversation. I'm like, wait a second. Hold on, go back. Why are they next to each other?
Just like, you know what? Yeah, especially it's like, yeah, like, you know, he's just like, I fucking love that fire. I just, you know, when it comes time, when I hear that bell ring, and you know, I mean, I don't even put my suit on. I just put my boots on. I go down that pole naked. I'm just ready.
Right. It makes me hard, friend. Super hard. Gay porn hard.
Oh yeah, as much as he gets so excited about it, though, that he opens that door and he gets blown pretty much. I can't remember if he dies or not, but he pretty much he's taken out. Yeah, because I almost want to say he's the first guy. There's a handful of guys that die because this is like the third part of the story. It makes it sound kind of convoluted here, but like the third part of the story is that like part of the government or like whatever, like the Congress of Chicago or whatnot. They're trying to cut as much as possible from the fire department and not give them a whole lot of money and so on like that. So in this process, there's a lot of guys that are dying and so on, and they could kind of care less.
And somehow they make money off of it.
Yeah, they make
never
money off.
Explained it.
No, but yeah. So it's got the weird thing. It's like three stories going on. A brotherly kind of like trying to get back together and make life work. To Robert De Niro investigating some mysterious arson, treachery, and then whoever the fucking mayor of Chicago.
A local government conspiracy.
Yeah, tried to shun the fire department and keep their budget down and kill some off in the process for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they put some life insurance policies out on them and whatnot.
Right. and somehow Scott Glenn knows about all of it. And
Scott Glenn.
Him off.
Yeah, he's the guy who's got the most amount of knowledge, So he's the guy who's your ends up being your villain in a sense, but not necessarily not in a bad way, but he's just trying to fight the power of making sure that the firefighters literally get their due diligence. Almost no different than I just literally watched The Rock just the other day for a Via VHS podcast, and that's like Ed Harris's character in a sense is almost doing the same thing for his guys, where he's like, my Marines, a lot of us died in Vietnam, and we just didn't get what we deserved, and so on like that. So we just want you to take care of us, and that's almost like literally what Scott Glenn's doing.
Yeah, actually, Ed Harris's character in The Rock always made me kind of sad. Because it's like he was never going to hurt anybody. Like you could tell, like going in, he was like, either they give us what we want, or eventually, this game ends and we end up in prison.
Yeah. I felt like he's playing the big bluff, is what he was really trying to do. He's just
100%.
But the other dudes with him are like, fuck it, we're all in now. Like, because here's the thing, we've gone too far. We literally stole a bunch of weapons. You know what I mean? We're holding San Francisco hostage. It's if we don't get the money, we're dead. We're not even going.
We just murdered a bunch of Navy SEALs, and we're kind of liking that.
Yeah, the Marines versus SEALs.
Right.
We took out Michael Biehn, he went back in time just to get killed again. Right. But that's kind of what Scott Glenn sort of reminds me of in this. Strangely enough, it's just like, oh yeah, it's kind of that. Like he's trying to fight for these firefighter rights and whatnot and so on. And for some reason, he knows all this stuff. There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of stuff in this movie that's like not necessarily. Not really explained. Like it just makes you fill in the you fill it in right here. You know what I mean? Figure it out.
You just accept it. Just accept it. Watch this fire explode.
Yeah. Watch some shit blow up, Watch Kurt Russell, fight his, wife's new boyfriend, in, a drunken brawl.
Right. Watch these two have sex on top of a fire truck and no one seems to notice.
Yeah,
until
nor
they get
care.
To the scene.
Yeah, they ride it.
Nor care.
Yeah, Jennifer Jason Leigh's character is kind of a weird one too, because she's sort of there, but she feels just like an extra character, just to give William Baldwin some kind of love interest in a sense. I know she's literally working for whatever the city council. That's kind of, she doesn't know yet, but for some reason that's all against the firefighters and try to cut spending costs and somehow some way collect money off of their deaths. But
well, it's that typical Hollywood thing, right? They're like, okay, well, which one of these characters is gonna fuck?
Yeah.
We gotta have that happen.
We'll get the lady from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or Flesh and Blood, because in all her 80s movies, she's always in one of those scenes where she's getting abused.
Right. God.
That's always what I think. But you see like an 80s movie with her, it's just like, oh, there's going to be some hardcore scene here at some point where you might feel real bad, like, oh god, like, have you ever seen Flesh and Blood before?
No, I have not.
Dude, it's got fucking what's his name from well, he's in Blade Runner, he's the bad guy. He's in Hobo with a Shotgun. Why am I trying to blank on his name? Rutger Hauer.
Okay, yeah.
So it's all about like kind of like medieval times and whatnot in the plague era and so on. And he's just like pretty much like, almost like, like a mercenary soldier that's fighting for the king and whatnot. And then the king's like, fuck it, we don't need these guys anymore. You guys, you took care of the whatever I needed done, and you fought off the invading army, but fuck it, we don't need you anymore. We're just gonna kill you off right here. And so they just end up escaping, but then he comes back and just murders that whole castle with his like fucking clan, and then just like takes what he wants and goes on off.
He's
and then,
one of them.
Yeah, just pretty much, just steals all, steals Jennifer Jason Leigh, who's the princess and whatnot, and just like takes her on their like, rogue group and whatnot, and then they're hiding out in a castle later on. And there's like this, for some reason, this other prince guy or whatnot who comes. He's like, I will save Jennifer Jason Leigh. He's like, I went to all the school and I went to the fanciest places in Europe and so on. So he's got all this like, scientific knowledge and whatnot. And they literally, to get him out of this castle, they literally shoot in a bunch of like infected dogs, corpses, like catapult them in there. And then they all start getting the plague.
Oh, fuck.
It's brutal and badass. And it's done by Paul Verhoeven, who did like RoboCop and Total Recall and Starship Troopers and all that stuff.
Well, that explains it.
Yeah, explains a lot there, but I only seen it once in a long time ago, but like there's parts in there that just always stick out to me a lot.
What's that one called?
Flesh and Blood.
Okay, I'm gonna.
So just picture the Poison album, and then I'll let you remember it.
Okay.
But yeah, Jennifer Jason Leigh, she's in here, and she's just kind of here, realistically. I don't know what more to say. Because even that part where they have the weird sex scene, like, on top of the fire truck, it's bizarre because they keep cutting back and forth to, like, Kurt Russell's character and them on, like, a fire. So it's like a weird transition back and forth. Be like, here we are, we're just struggling through the fire, chopping down doors, things are blowing up, and then it's, like, back to William Baldwin, like, hey, you want to come hang out on the fire truck and take your panties off?
Right. Making the weird Baldwin face they all have.
Yeah. And they always just like worry too.
Do that again. That's pretty good.
He's always just got this like real like he's confused and worried all at the same time.
All of them have that face. It's like their smoldering look. Or whatever it is. Every single Baldwin has that fucking weird look.
They do, yeah. So yeah, and
except for Steven. Steven just looks like he smoked a pound of weed.
Yeah. Is Steven the one that's in Vampire? John Carpenter's Vampires?
No. I think that's Daniel Baldwin. Steven Baldwin's in Biodome.
Oh yes, with Pauly Shore.
Yeah.
That's right. There's just so many Baldwins that I always get kind of confused.
I think there's 5 that were actors.
I think so. So it's a ridiculous amount, and really in the long run, there's only one that really like stood the test of time, and that's just Alec Baldwin.
Right. Dude, my favorite Baldwin film is The Edge.
I love that movie.
Alec Baldwin. Oh, dude, he's the most annoying fucking cunt the whole entire film. Like, I can't remember who I watched it with. I was like, yeah, dude, like, we're talking about camping, we're talking about hiking and bear attacks. I was like, you gotta watch The Edge, dude. Like, let's watch it. I don't know how far we were into it, and he was like, can Alec Baldwin just fucking die already? And I was like, why?
He like, will.
How many times is he going to be like, how are you going to make a compass, Charles? What do you do with that spear, Charles?
I love Anthony Hopkins' character in that movie, though. Like, I think
he's fucking amazing.
And I love how he's just a dude who's just has this like wealth of knowledge that he's just spent his entire life just reading shit and so on. And now he's like
strength.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now he's like, dude, I can put all this knowledge that I've built up over the years to use now.
Right.
And hey, if you didn't like Alec Baldwin, he's gonna get eaten by the bear anyway, so it's okay.
Oh yeah, horribly.
Yeah, he gets.
I mean, I don't know. Him or the black dude has like the worst death.
Yeah, that guy's got a pretty bad death too.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's a fantastic. I love that movie.
No, it's so good. It's one of those that like another forgotten film.
Yeah, it totally is. Because it comes off of that era where they kind of had a lot of man versus animal movies. That's the same thing as Deep Blue Sea was about then. Anaconda. Lake Placid,
right, but The Edge is way more realistic than all those other ones.
Yeah, that's true. Even though I do like
they try to keep more realism in there.
Yeah. No. Well, it also, because the other ones are all almost like water, kind of areas and creatures and so on like that, where I think this one's just like you're up in the mountains, there's a bear stalking them the whole time and whatnot. And yeah, it's just a cool survival kind of flick.
Hey, they're coming back, though. We had Cocaine Grizzly or whatever it's called, Cocaine Bear. That one was fun.
There was also one, I laughed so hard, it popped up, I wish I remember exactly what it's called, but it popped up on Amazon where someone was doing the knockoff like movie of like Cocaine Bear, and it was almost like heroin raccoon or something like that, or cracked out coon, something crazy, and it was like, oh my God.
That sounds a little racist of a title.
It's one of those ones where like, I was like, wow, this is getting intense here. I'm like, it's probably not gonna be very good, but like, it's almost like, just had this like rabid raccoon on the cover, like,
yeah. Did you watch what is it called, like Prey or something like that with Idris Elba? Where he's in Africa and the like man-eating lion is like chasing him and his daughter.
I don't know if I did see that one. That sounds familiar, but I'm almost not remembering.
I watched it solely because Idris Elba's in it, and the dude from Chappie and District 9, I forget his name all the time, Hardcore Henry.
Yeah.
That South African actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in it. So I was like, you know what? I have to watch this now. I fucking love Idris Elba. I'll watch anything that dude's in.
Yeah, I remember that almost when that came out, but I must have missed that one. It does sound very interesting, though. Anything Idris Elba. It wasn't
terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, because I always like any of those like ones where it's like, I don't know what it is, like just the man versus like animal and nature and stuff like that is always so bad.
Yes.
And there's not enough of that too. It's like even in video games, I always say it's like you almost never fight animals in video games, but I think that's always like the best thing, and that's almost scarier in my opinion too than anything else.
Right.
I think because it just makes it feel more real and so on like that.
Well, that was one of the things that like attracted me to like the Far Cry games in the beginning was those random animal encounters, and then Far Cry Primal, to where if you want to play on hard mode, you don't take any animal companions. It's just you and a torch as a caveman going through the night. Mouse.
It's like this is almost like Tim Allen.
Yeah.
The home improvement will return. But yeah. Yeah, but those like Backdraft, man versus fire. Well, then we also get to Donald Sutherland, who we've kind of brought up before, but his character in this is almost like, it's like if you took Hannibal Lecter and he was obsessed with fire and burning shit and so on like that. And this dude's been in, I don't know, he's been incarcerated for like years or whatever. But Robert De Niro always kind of goes to him, literally like a Hannibal Lecter character. He's like to get information and whatnot. And he's got some good monologues too, where he just talks about how much he loves the fire and just want to watch the whole world burn and everything.
Right.
In a blaze of glory.
Right. And the Chicago justice system, or wherever they are, parole board, are like, yeah, we're gonna let him go, you've been really good. And he's just like, oh yeah, thanks. like he's an interesting character, when they hand him the little doll, or he puts the doll in front of him. He's like, what'd you do to that little girl? He's like, I burned her. And he looks all happy.
Yeah, he's just like, so he was like so into it.
What'd you do to the old people and the women? I burned them. Oh.
Yeah, just like it's like yeah, these guys are like, yeah, we were gonna let him out. I guess maybe not yet.
Yeah, maybe it's not a good idea.
Especially since there's apparently some other arsons going on right now. Yeah, so let's not set the guy who loves fire a little too much out. Does he like fire as much as that kid that was jerking off to it at the fire department? Well, I don't know if he likes it. Well, that's a different kind of like.
Well, he did say that. He's like, to be a good firefighter, you basically have to kind of love the fire.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do.
He also gave Robert De Niro's character is probably the coolest character in the film, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Most interesting character. Mm-hmm. But his nickname and how he got it in the film, you're just like, holy shit. This is ridiculous. Calling him Shadow.
Yeah, because he got burnt so bad whenever they got the shadow on the wall.
Yeah, lit him up so bright and hot they made a shadow. And Donald Sutherland's just called him that, like, my little shadow. You're like,
Yeah.
fuck.
There's even a part 2. I think it's like where William Baldwin, I think, first works for Robert De Niro, and Robert De Niro's for some reason changed his shirt, and he's just like covered from like his whole back's just all burnt to, you know, and all torn up and whatnot from like whenever that accident was.
Right.
And I think did he get burnt while he was trying to actually pull Donald Sutherland's character out? Was that?
Yeah, he was saving Donald Sutherland's character.
Yeah, who was the arson? Yeah. So
Right.
like kind of almost like a weird Batman thing, like it's where it's like, you know, he still saves him even though he probably should have just let him burn in there.
Right. Which, you know, that's like one of those roles too where it's like Donald Sutherland has like a lot of like pretty big prominent roles, but I don't know what it is about him to where I forget about him. You know what I mean? If he wasn't Queefer's dad, you know, I would never know he exists.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it, but I forget that fucker's even around. But every time, like, you see him on screen, like in certain roles, you're like, damn, he's really good.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
he is a phenomenal actor.
yeah, super actor in all kinds of stuff and whatnot. And I always think he's also in like Kelly's Heroes with like Clint Eastwood, that World War II one that they're in. You know, of course, he's in Animal House. He's like the teacher in there and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, even in modern movies, he's in like the Hunger Games. He plays in one of the main older folks in that movie.
He plays Director Snow or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
He plays a general in one of the Civil War films. I can't remember which one.
Is it in Glory or something like that?
I don't think it's Glory. I think it's fuck.
Gettysburg.
I have to look it up.
It
It might be Gettysburg.
I'll just rattle off some Civil War movies. We'll eventually hit it.
Listen, I tried to watch Glory again not that long ago because I have this weird obsession with military films where I cycle through different ones. I couldn't get through it. I was like, this movie's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, I watched that.
It's Matthew Broderick. It's his fault. It's all his fault. I'm just like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago, and I remember enjoying it back in the day, but I probably haven't seen it once again for just as long as Backdraft, if not maybe a little bit longer. So.
Oh shit, he's in The Dirty Dozen too.
Yes, that's right.
Damn.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's in.
I'm always sleeping on Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, he's in tons of stuff, you know. But yeah. Yeah, as I said, his character's just kind of cool in this one. I mean, he only probably has like maybe 2 or 3 scenes. It's not a whole lot. He's just there to kind of add kind of a creep factor to, you know, that make the fire seem even more like, you know, brutal and devastating, especially when there's somebody who really loves to like set fire to places and whatnot.
Right.
You know, and then, you know, as the movie kind of goes on, once they kind of get to the investigation part and they're like, you know, trying to figure out who is the one setting all this stuff on fire and whatnot. And they even had like, they have like a scuffle at one point where it's like Robert De Niro's character and William Baldwin, they both go into a house and the arson's still in there, masked up and everything like that. And he gets like thrown to the wall and he gets burnt like by the light socket or by the power outlet or whatnot. And
right.
You know, then they all kind of run out for a second, but then there's like an explosion, of course, right from like when the gas hits that electricity, and Robert De Niro's character literally gets blown out, and he almost gets impaled on like a fence outside. That makes you kind of feel like, oh shit, is this where Robert De Niro's character is going to die? You almost got like a Mortal Kombat fatality right there. But
right.
Lo and behold, Robert De Niro's character doesn't go down from stuff like that. He still survives.
Right. He gets jacked up. And William Baldwin's got to, you know, after only 3 weeks on the job, he's got to solve the case.
This is what happens. William Baldwin, he works for like 3 weeks and everything. He's like 3 weeks he's a firefighter, then 3 weeks he's like an investigator, and then for some reason he goes back to being a firefighter and they just let him ride it back in.
What's funny is he's a probie again, is what I noticed. I'm pretty sure he is because on his helmet it says candidate, I believe.
I think so.
Right. But you know, he does the whole like his brother, like fixing the guy up, like, you're weighing it wrong.
Yeah, let me show you how to dress yourself. You know,
Hey, you fucking doing it wrong, eh?
yeah, Chicago.
So what did you think? My impressions, I'll just start. My impressions is I did not realize how fucking corny it was in certain aspects, mainly because of the plot holes where you're just like, fuck, what's going on here?
Yeah, no, it definitely has a lot of stuff that I literally almost have to kind of go, how did they get from here to there? Like, it just, I mean, it gets there. It's not like it's confusing, but there just feels like there's a section just kind of missing. And the fact the movie's like 2.5 hours long, I don't know how that section feels like it's missing, but
right. And they kind of focus on weird shit.
Yeah,
I feel like there's kind of like unnecessary things that are, you know, given more attention than probably what they need. Like, I don't know. Kurt Russell being super hammered at some random dance out of nowhere.
I think it's like a dude's retirement party, isn't it? Yeah, right. Because they have those dance scenes, and whenever I see shit like that in movies, I always go like, is that really where you should be spending your money at? Like, let's be honest, nobody's here to see the fucking river dance like at some firefighter dude's like fucking retirement party. Like that to me just feels like, how much did you pay all those dancers? Like that could have been more fire special effects. Let's be honest. That's what we're here for.
Right.
You know, this over the top like scene, but because it's like, I think the thing about the movie though is it does try to jam almost probably too much into one movie. You really just the idea of like fire investigator and arson, and just trying to figure out that mystery, and then just having the firefighters fight along with that. I think that's all you really need. I think sometimes some of the other stuff that's thrown in there is just almost like, it's there. And it's like, well, if you want to have the drama, it's fine to either have the brother drama or have like the brothers and like their girlfriends / wives thing, but they kind of have it all in there. It's like, we're just going to throw all this in there. Because, you know,
you got both in there, and they sacrifice the local politician corruption story.
Yeah.
That gets like the least amount of like coverage. Like, you know, the dude's dirty, but the whole time you just think he's just an asshole.
Yeah, that's all you know. It's just like the whole time he feels like he's an asshole, no matter what.
Right.
But yeah, no. So there's that, and then even with like the, you know, Bull and his like, you know, estranged wife and whatnot, and they kind of get back together, and then it kind of comes back. It's just like, well, I don't want you hanging out with the boy again. You know what I mean? I don't want him to get comfortable and get confused. You know, look how confused he is. He's poured half a can of jelly inside a thing of eggs. I don't even know what he's doing.
Right.
You just let him go do it.
Confused. Dad's showing up at night all the time, drunk off his ass, somehow driving here.
Yeah, fucking just sitting on the roof, fixing the roof that's not his house anymore.
Right. Yeah, the boy is confused enough.
Yeah, you know. Once again, I just have to point out, what the hell was he making there in the kitchen?
Right. They could have completely left that out. Just like had him living in the home, kept the brother drama, like get rid of the girlfriend drama or the wife drama.
Yeah.
Jennifer Jason Leigh's part, you know, I mean, you don't need to cut that, but I don't know.
It doesn't really serve anything. It's not bad. It just doesn't. It's not, maybe not fully necessary, but not bad. I don't think.
Right.
You know.
It takes up crucial screen time for sure.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those ones. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on when it feels like it doesn't need to be nearly as complex. And you know, let's be honest, it's the Robert De Niro kind of core storyline that's the most interesting. And then if you just have the brothers kind of like trying to get back together, you know, through that, I think that's the core stuff, you know, because that's really cool, you know, that and the firefighting scenes and so on like that, you know, because you got great special effects in there. You got, of course, when you get to the very end, and that's that scene there where they're going like the chemical factory and it's burning up, and it literally looks kind of like the Back to the Future or the Backdraft ride and everything like that. Right. You got the barrels blowing up and shooting towards the sky, the fire's rolling, and they're on like literally those catwalks and everything like that. And they get to that point where literally Scott Glenn and fucking Kurt Russell have axes, and it's like they're gonna fucking duel each other inside here. You know?
Right. That's what we came to see.
Yeah, that see, that's the thing is when there's those kind of scenes, it's badass and so on. And I guess leading up to that, there is a part though where William Baldwin, because for some reason Kurt Russell's always keeping all these like flammable liquids and stuff that he stole from the fire station on his boat. He's thinking that he's the arson for a second, and you know, and of course Kurt Russell, with like 6 beers in, is like, the one thing I know is that fire's what I love, and I don't need that's what I'm always serious about.
Right. I don't know much, but I know fire because I love it.
Yeah. So then they just kind of realize for a split second, it's like, oh, it's okay. It's not Kurt Russell starting all the fires. It's not like he just gets hammered in the middle of the night and takes a bunch of like flammable stuff.
He's too drunk off his ass to start fucking fires, dude.
No, exactly.
That dude's like cleaning out every liquor store in Chicago, just, getting through the week.
Yeah, it's just like he goes sit in his boat.
Yeah.
It's never in the water.
To like old 8-track tapes.
Yeah, it's all he's got is like 8-track. And this is even funny because it's like, there's even a line in this, and this is, once again, it's 1991, which means it's probably shot in 1990. And even William Baldwin's like, can you even get these anymore?
Right. Which is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's how I feel now, dude. Like, I was looking at a car the other day, and had, what was it? Somebody had put in like one of those like 5-disc CD things.
The CD changer.
But not the one that's in the dash, the one that had to be in the trunk, like the original old school ones. And I saw that. So like you load up your disc, you could switch which CD to switch to from your dash, or like with a little
the
remote.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh fuck, I feel old, because I remember when that was like an actual thing people had.
Yep, I remember because like my uncle gave one to my mom back in the day, and she had it installed or whatnot in there. I think it was a 10-disc changer, so it was like, oh man, you can go on an entire road trip, and you know what I mean, and fucking be rocking some tunes.
Right.
And that's pretty much what Kurt Russell's got going on this. So he's just got this collection of like 8-tracks and is like, both for the boat and for his pickup truck.
Right.
He's like, no. He's like, I'm only investing once. You know what I mean? Nope, I'm not getting cassettes. No CDs for me. No mini disc. I know that's coming out right around the corner.
Right. Hey, nobody's gonna steal an 8-track player out of his truck. He's good to go.
That's probably what he's thinking about too. He's playing it safe there and so on.
He doesn't remember to lock his truck all the time. He's fucking hammered.
No, he doesn't.
He's got a roof to fix.
Yeah, he shows up at his wife's house, fixes the roof, hangs out on the lawn in the middle of the night.
Right. Oh shit.
He fights her new boyfriend, who never comes back after that anniversary or after that retirement party. Like after that guy gets in a feud, I don't think he appears later in the movie. It's like he's like, no, I'm done.
You can't fuck with Kurt Russell.
No, you can't. You know what I mean?
Hey, you just gotta leave, dude.
Yeah, and for some reason she probably just can't put up with it. It's one of those ones like at first it makes it feel like, oh, I just don't know if you being on the fires and what if you just don't come back home. It's like, no, it's probably the fact that he's probably like 12 beers in every fucking night.
Right, he's just fucking drunk all the time. letting fucking, little cunty fucking, sperm nugget pour like half a thing of jelly into the eggs and ruin them every fucking morning because he's too fucking hungover.
Yeah. Oh, so we're not having cherry pie?
He's like, I'm fucking sick of this shit.
It's just driving.
You're drunk all the time. Our kid's fucking retarded.
You won't even talk to your brother.
Yeah.
He just wants
your
a job.
He's just staring at everybody with that weird pucker fucking face that he has.
Doesn't look anything like you or your father.
Yeah, right. Who literally looks like the same person.
Just one mustache. Yeah. Yeah.
And your father had a mustache and you don't, and I think that's fucking gay. Dude, after watching that movie though, I had to put more movies on my list besides Wild Geese 2, of course.
Yes,
I gotta keep reminding myself.
Getting so pumped for Wild Geese 2.
It has to happen. I'm gonna find it. But it makes me want to go back. I want to skip Escape from New York because I already know it's good.
Yeah,
I want to sit through. I want to sit through Escape from LA. I want to see that.
I actually like that one quite a bit. I personally,
it's so fun.
I'm a big fan of Escape from LA. I actually like it. This almost sounds like blasphemy. I like it just as much as Escape from New York, just a little bit in different ways.
I agree with you because it's fun. It's super fun.
It's super fun, and it's more wacky and even more like, I think that it's got great old school CGI effects. I'm very nostalgic for like those early days CG look.
Right, but it makes me want to watch that. I want to go watch Soldier again, one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's a good one too. That's a Paul Anderson movie, or Paul W.S. Anderson, the dude who did Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil.
Dude, that movie's so good. Like, anybody who talks shit about that movie makes me mad. I'm like, you fucking talking shit about my boy Todd?
Yeah.
You better get out of here, dog.
No, that's a great movie. I got that one on DVD. Good Kurt Russell one there. Yeah, it does kind of. Good. You know what's the other thing is, I know that there's earlier firefighter movies than Backdraft, but I definitely feel this was the movie that kind of, for a long time, was sort of like the definitive like firefighter movie, because it didn't seem like, it felt like after this movie there probably was some types of like knockoffs and so on, but it wasn't until like the 2000s, till kind of like post 9/11 when they started making more firefighter movies, like
Ladder
49,
whatever. Yeah.
Is that the one with John Travolta?
I think so. I don't know. I never watched it.
I never did either, but I remember it coming
I'm not a big fan of like, after some catastrophe happens, any catastrophe, we got to make a movie about it, and like, we got
to make some money off this. They're gonna forget.
Yeah, I think it's like, sometimes they're done really well, but other ones you're just kind of like, okay. Like, let's get the fuck out of here with this. Unless it's like a war movie, like I'm down for those because I want to watch people die because I'm fucking broken inside.
Yeah.
but not a bunch of firefighters die. I'm like, I could do without that.
Yeah, well, because that's mostly what those. Mostly, I think that's the difference. Is like, okay, even though Backdraft has dramatic elements in it and so on, it still carries a little bit of a fun factor. And I think it's because this movie is 91, but it still plays like an 80s movie. It's kind of like those like tail end, like you could kind of say it's a transitional movie, but it definitely to me feels more 80s than it does actually 90s. Kind of the same way that like Days of Thunder is. Days of Thunder is another movie that I look at like, it's like it's 1990, but it's literally like pretty much tail end 80s, like the generation has just shifted, and this movie's kind of carrying on that end thing, and just like Backdraft.
Well, the music, Days of Thunder, the music in it alone is so 80s.
Yeah, it just carries that. Well, even like in Backdraft too, because like when the credits happen, it's like it tells you it has that kind of old like that 80s feel to it,
Right.
Because it's got a little bit.
I didn't pick up on that. That's interesting. It makes sense now that you say it.
Yeah, because I remember right when it did, it's like, oh yeah, this there, and the fact that it sort of has, even though this still happens in the 90s too, but it has that. The fact that once again the fire, it's a little bit more of a suspension of disbelief. You got kind of a slight bit of fantasy to it, like it almost takes firefighting and kind of just makes them a little bit larger than life, kind of over the top kind
Turns
of feel.
Turns it up to 11.
Yeah, I know there's always those people too that like you'll hear this from like literally firefighters that go like, yeah, they're not wearing their masks. That's like so unrealistic. I'm like, it's a movie. If they all wore masks, you'd have no idea who the hell any of them are. I hate to sort of say it, when they wear the fucking helmets in the movie, sometimes I have a hard time telling who the hell anybody is.
Right.
It's like I call it. It's like the Gears of War thing. Like it's even explained in that game. Is that if they all wore the helmets, you wouldn't be able to tell like the characters in a sense and the personalities and so on like that. You know, they jokingly throw like the Carmine character in there to go like, hey, you guys should be wearing the helmets. It's like it filters out all the dust and particles and all the stuff. But then who's the first guy to get fucking shot? The guy wearing the helmet. You know, and I always think of Backdraft in that way because I've always heard that like people kind of complain about they're like they're never wearing their masks or anything like that. You know, and they'll be like, there's no smoke inside any of those buildings. I'm like, yeah, because if there was smoke, you wouldn't be able to see the fucking movie. Like you sometimes got to think the logic of like we're watching a movie here, like, you know, there's that little bit of suspension of disbelief so it looks good and so you can understand what the hell is going on. Even if there is some plot holes that somehow disappear in those backdrafts.
Right. Well, you have to. Well, that's like any military movie too. Like grenades don't explode into a gigantic fireworky explosion that looks super pretty on film.
And guys just fly away like they're like jumping off of a fucking like, you know, high dive.
Yeah, if they made it realistic, it wouldn't be as like visually pleasing.
No, it'd just be shrapnel like fucking everywhere and just people just like torn to pieces and whatnot.
Yeah, it would just be some dust. It'd be like a loud concussion and then like, you know, people would drop. Or maybe a leg would go flying or something, but it's not like it is on film.
Yeah, well, because you got to have the explosions because that just looks cooler on camera.
Right, or like the fire shooting out the back of a rocket as it flies past, like on screen.
Yeah,
it looks cooler that way.
Yeah, because if not, it just looks like it's something looks wrong when you sometimes don't have certain things going on, you know. Right. So once again, that's how I look at Backdraft. Is it has some of that stuff in there to kind of be more, you know, movie-like and more character-driven and so on like that, you know. Even though it's funny because they're in like that chemical area, and there's the part where after fucking Scott Glenn and Kurt Russell are pretty much having like they're gonna have like almost looks like an axe battle on the catwalk as shit's blowing up around them and everything's on fire and whatnot, and then of course the catwalk falls apart and Kurt Russell grabs him and he's like, you know, you're not going to, if we go down together kind of thing, and then they both kind of fall and you're like, oh fuck, they're gonna die, and like, no, just Scott Glenn fucking dies there, and Kurt Russell survives. And then they come by with like the mask for like oxygen. They give him like one breath. They're like, "Okay, Kurt, you're good to go. Let's get you out of here."
Yeah, you're the main character. That's all you need.
Yeah. You know, even though sadly Kurt Russell doesn't make it, he comes out of there, but then you know. They have a tragic, you know, death scene, and he tells his brother it's going to be okay, and you got to go on still, you know. That's what Papa Kurt would have wanted.
I know. That was the other thing that kind of, you know, I guess as I got older, I'm like, it's so cliche, be like, the dad who looks just like Kurt Russell died. Now Kurt Russell must die too, and leave his son that, you know, unfortunately, Kurt Russell can't play a 5-year-old version of himself.
It'd be hilarious if he played the kid too.
Yeah, it's just his face like CGI'd on.
Yeah, exactly.
Or fucking jelly and eggs.
he's like I can do this. Don't worry. Like I'm that good of an actor.
Yeah, right.
3 generations of Kurt all in one movie.
I'd watch it.
I so would too. It'd be like the tagline: "You will believe a man can also be a boy."
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's Kurt Russell. He's undeniable, brother. You can't count him out.
Yeah, he's fucking the best. So you know, yeah. No matter what, I still think at the end of the day, the movie's still really fun. I really do enjoy it. I kind of can see though how it kind of becomes forgotten in time a little bit though, because it's still a cool watch, and it's not saying that like I think if you throw it on, anybody would generally enjoy it. Right. But it is kind of a movie of an era, and it's one of those ones that probably for like other people too, there's always another fire movie along the way that probably would take the place for each person's generation of a fire film. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, I still enjoyed it. It still kind of takes you back to like those times and whatnot like that. And even with sort of its goofs, it's not a perfect movie at all, you know. But yeah, as I said, it's still fun, still interesting.
I mean, that's a good point because I mean, I don't know that many firefighters, but ones I do meet, I like to ask them what their favorite firefighter movie is.
Yeah.
And most often it's Backdraft or the one with, I think it's Miles Teller and Josh Brolin, where they're the wildland firefighters that all get burnt up.
Oh, yeah. That's the one I always kind of wanted to see that one, because that was kind of a cool one. There's another one that's like, this is definitely like, in a sense, a fantasy movie too, but there's that one that's literally around the same time period as Backdraft called Always. It's a Steven Spielberg movie, and it's about Bore bomber pilots, and it's got fucking John Goodman in it as one of the Bore bomber pilots, and then it's got the dude from Close Encounters, Jaws, fucking God, what's his name right now? So sometimes when it's late, my brain just hits a wall and I can't think of
Right.
Close Encounters. I'm gonna have to look that up, but whatever. So they're pretty much in it, and it's like a remake of like a 1940s movie or something like that. And Close Encounters. We're just gonna find out, because it's gonna drive me up the wall if I don't. Fucking Richard Dreyfuss. So Richard Dreyfuss actually ends up dying in one of these. This is at the beginning of the movie, so it's not really spoiling anything. It's literally in the trailer. He like ends up dying in one of these bombing raids that they do in like Colorado and whatnot like that. But his ghost comes back, but he doesn't realize he's a ghost for a while, and he's there he kind of helps out John Goodman still, and he kind of like, I think John Goodman's like the only person that kind of can tell that he's there, and then he has his girlfriend or whatnot, and he's trying to make it that her life kind of comes back together and so on like that. It's done very kind of old school, but it's still an interesting movie, and it's got some really good Bore bomber firefighting scenes in it. And it's kind of it's one of those ones, I'll say, it's one of those Steven Spielberg movies that like nobody ever seems to bring up too much, but
I like that premise of, someone who dies and basically their ghost is like still serving. It's like, there's something cool about it. Well, just like, it has nothing to do with fucking firefighting, but Clint Eastwood's movie, I think it's Hang 'em High, where he basically plays the ghost who comes back to exact revenge on the town.
Yep.
Simple plot, fucking awesome.
Exactly. Well, I'll say the interesting thing, the Always that Steven, I can't remember what the pretty much the movie he's kind of like partially inspired remaking from, and the original version, because I think it's actually a 40s movie, is the guy's like a B-26 bomber in like World War II, and he goes down, and then he comes back as a ghost. So that one actually sounded I'm kind of interested to see what the original version would be like too. I've never watched that one before, but Always is worth checking out though at some point. Once again, it's one of those ones that's like, maybe not the world's most exciting Steven Spielberg movie, but it's got a cool concept. It's different, and you can see John Goodman as a Bore bomber pilot. That should be enough.
That's pretty cool. Dude, what is the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where he's a smoke jumper?
Oh shit, I forgot about that one.
I need to put that into my memory banks, and when I talk to firefighters, and they're like, "What's your favorite firefighter movie?" I'm gonna name that one. I just thought of it just now. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah,
you were talking about the great Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah. No, that probably, I've never seen that one, but like I know of that film.
This is gonna bug me. I'm gonna have to call my dad. My dad's gonna be like, "It's this one."
Yeah, he'll just know it right off the top of his head.
It's fucking awesome.
Speaking of other fire, did you ever see Backdraft 2?
I have not.
Nor have I, but I know William Baldwin's still in it. Because he's got nowhere else to go.
I saw it, like it popped up because I think I watched Backdraft on Amazon or something. I can't remember what. But it was like, "Do you want to watch Backdraft too?" I was like, "No, thanks."
Yeah, I went with because I told you about I bought this. It was on sale. There we go. Camera, boom. Backdraft. I got the little 4K one. It was like $8 or something like a couple of months ago. I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to watch Backdraft again. I'll take that. And then I never got, like most things, I buy it and then never get around to it. And then when you mentioned it, I was like, hell yeah, we're gonna watch some fucking Backdraft. I've been having this sit here for a while. You know what I mean? And the second one. Yeah, because it was like straight to video. I think it continues the story because I think it literally it's like the boy who was fucking making the eggs with the half jar of fucking jam and everything like that. Well, now he's fighting fires or something like that.
And it's played by Kurt Russell.
He's still in it. He's like, I can play a 26-year-old boy. Don't worry about it. Oh, Kurt Russell here. Come on in.
Hey, my dad was a firefighter too.
He's got the mustache back again. It skipped a generation.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the days of the greatness of Kurt Russell, I feel like are kind of gone and over with. He kind of gives us silly little campy roles.
Yeah, well, he is getting up there in age and so on like that. He's been doing movies since the '60s, so.
Right. It makes me sad.
Yeah, it is a bummer though, because it's like my whole life, it's like some of my favorite movies are Kurt Russell films throughout all the time and whatnot.
Right,
Captain Ron, fucking Big Trouble in Little China. There's so many great ones,
Dude, my date night movie with chicks back in the day was Overboard.
Oh, always a good one. Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, fun as fuck. Cool setting.
Get some good laughs.
Yeah,
lighthearted.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect one like that, and just the fact you could believe that Kurt Russell would just drag some lady in who got amnesia, just like, you're my wife now. Take care of these three rowdy kids.
Get away with it. Get away with it too.
It's whatever, Washington or Oregon back in the 80s.
Right.
Have your buddy do old school fucking Photoshop to make it you're believing you got
the tricker.
Yeah, actual fucking, wedding photos and so on.
I saw that they remade that, and I was like, sacrilege.
Yeah, that was one of those
Overboard.
ones where I was like, and the chick, I can't remember, the chick that they had playing pretty much Goldie Hawn, I do like her as an actress. I'm drawing a blank on her name right now, but it just felt like...
She was married to Chris Pratt for a while. I can't remember her name ever.
But it was just one of those ones I'm like, sometimes there's that thing that's like, I just don't need. I don't need it. Like I'm fine. My life will be totally fine if I never watch that. I got a perfectly good Overboard. Who knows? I'm not denying. Maybe it is good. I'm not going to say that, but it's like there's a perfectly fine version of that already.
Right.
So.
Well, there's certain remakes we just don't need. What I mean? Yeah. Like I heard rumor. I can't remember what I was watching, but they're talking about like I guess there's scuttlebutt about basically rebooting Star Wars.
Yeah,
I was like, why?
No, it's like, to me, it's like one of those ones like there is only one Star Wars, and that's George Lucas Star Wars. If it's not George, I don't care.
Right.
I look at the Disney one. There's some decent ones. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Rogue One a lot. I think that was the one that like pretty much was firing on all cylinders. But beyond that, like I just go, the Disney ones, they're just, I call them expensive fan fiction. That's all they are. They're not real movies. They're not, it's not the dude who created it. You know what I mean?
Bad fan fiction.
Yeah, it's just expensive fan fiction. That's all it is. It's like when you have millions of dollars to blow and it's not really your story. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't really care. And that's kind of how I feel.
I watched, and it summed up best. I'll send it to you next time I find it. But it's like, some band who made a song about Star Wars, right? And it's like a metalcore rock band, and they animated the video, and they have a line in it where it just sums up like, as a Star Wars fan, like there's very few of us that haven't completely abandoned Star Wars for like the most part. Like I think of it fondly, but like I ain't gonna watch fucking shit that they put out.
No.
They could go eat a bag of dicks, you know what I mean? But then there's like people like RJ who's like, I'm holding out. They're gonna bring it back and it's gonna be good. And I'm like, I appreciate you. You let me know. You let me know when they make a good one. It has a line where it goes, I know my childhood was a lie. The day that Luke Skywalker died for being tired. I was like, that's right. That's right. That's what ruined it for me. That was the turning point.
Yeah, it's just such a bummer there and so on like that. And there used to be a point where I felt like I had to kind of just catch up on everything just because. And now I'm at that point where it's like, you know what? There's not enough time left in life to be doing that. Like, you got to be a little bit picky and choosy, and I would rather just watch good shit and then not have to worry.
For Star Wars?
Well, just for stuff in general, when there's like, you know,
okay.
copious amounts of stuff, you know, like it's like that thing.
Bitch, you still haven't watched The Punisher, so I don't even want to talk to you about catching up on shit.
That's what I mean. There's one of those ones. Yeah, I know. I've not watched the Punisher show. I watched the first episode. That was it. As far as I got.
Yeah, that upsets me. I'm still mad at you for that.
But maybe we'll
one of these days, if I ever just like, you know, come into some money, I'm gonna show up to your house and I'm gonna like tie you down to a chair.
Clockwork Orange style.
I'm gonna be wearing full on Frank Castle like cosplay. I was gonna punch you and like start torturing you if you like start to lose focus.
Just hook me up with like the Clockwork Orange, like wide-eyed, like you can't even blink.
Put drops in your eyes. You will watch. It's a good one, I'm telling you. It's a good one. You need to watch it.
I'll have to. I'll try to at some point. I don't know. TV's always such a tough one for me.
One episode a day. That's all you got to do. There's not that many.
Yeah.
There's not that many episodes in a season.
No, I guess that's true. But yeah, I don't know. It's like TV's the one I always have the hard time with. You know, I don't know why. I always feel like it's too slow for me.
I just have a weird fondness for those Netflix era of Marvel TV shows because it, you know, DC always had it over Marvel, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. I'm sorry, all the fucking nerds out there. I'm not the biggest comic book fan, but DC comics were more raw.
Yeah.
They always had more of an edge to them.
Yeah, the stories are always generally stronger, I think, in the DC books. That's kind of the given.
Right.
Not saying there's not great Marvel stuff, but yeah.
Well, exactly. Like, I agree 100%. You know, I love Punisher and X-Men. That's like my two favorite, like, I guess, like groups of characters. But that being said, as you get older as an adult and you want some like raw realness, DC is the only home for you, really. Marvel's, you know, doing Marvel things. They're doing pop culture references about Lady Gaga and shit. And you're like, okay. But you know, for like live action cinema and TV shows, DC just fucking lets you down.
Yeah,
those Marvel versions, like especially the Netflix ones, it was like real street level justice drama with, you know, Daredevil beating motherfuckers down, snapping their legs, just torturing motherfuckers, you know, like putting guys into a coma. Like there's a line in there where he's like, I don't kill people. He's like, yeah, you just fucking break their legs. You know, they can't ever walk again.
Yeah,
or Jessica Jones, like that storyline where like it touches on, you know, basically rape and slavery and all kinds of fucked up shit.
Yeah, no,
like it has a different rawness.
Yeah, well, they definitely went a little bit harder in certain ways there, comparative to like all the other, you know, non-Marvel comic stuff, like just Marvel like movies and so on there. Because you know,
Disney ran Marvel.
Yeah, well, once sort of Disney gets its hands in the stuff, it's, I don't know, it's definitely a mixed bag. Yeah. It's not saying that Disney can't do interesting things, because speaking, this goes just back to this, but fun fact, The Rock is a Disney movie. That's the most bizarre thing.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Because it's Hollywood Pictures, so Disney can kind of like cop out. But that's literally
hide its name.
It's always been owned by Disney, so it's like everybody kind of knows that. So it's just weird to think it's like, oh, there's a rated R Disney movie right there, you know.
Well, you told me I can't remember what year it was. It was fucking forever ago, because Disney's owned Marvel for a while now, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. You know, Disney has all this money. They're gonna, you know, bring back this show, and you're like, whatever, dude, they're gonna fuck it up.
That's the thing.
Mouse is gonna stick his little mouse stick in there. He's gonna ruin it.
You know, it's just one of those ones. And once again, not saying every once in a while, just like a Star Wars fucking Rogue One, and you know, there is some, you know, of the Marvel movies that are pretty solid ones. You know, but
movies, but the TV shows, not too much.
Yeah, I just kind of wrote all that stuff off. I'm like, I'm just not going to watch those things. I don't have the time. There's only enough time in the week to watch generally movies. I'm not gonna go with that stuff. That's just too much. There might be some decent ones in there. But I'm not gonna know. I'm not here to find out. You know what I mean? The only downfall is that they kind of, nowadays, if you watch a Marvel movie, they expect you to fucking watch those TV shows. So sometimes you get kind of lost when you're watching. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, there's no context to explain what this is. Like, oh, what, you don't got fucking $10 for Disney Plus? Like, fucking cheap ass. Like, I'm like,
you didn't watch the entire build up to this, with having to watch 3 other TV shows just to get the reference.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they were. That was like how Doctor Strange 2 was. I was like, there's parts in there I was like, I'm kind of fucking confused on what's going on. It's like, oh, what, you didn't fucking see WandaVision? Like, no, I didn't.
Right. That one was okay.
Yeah. I heard that was decent.
It was just okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't put a finger on one of the new ones that I was like, hey, that was great. Like, even one of my favorite Marvel, like, anti-hero characters, U.S. Agent, Dark Steve Rogers out there murking fools and whatnot and getting, his pee-pee slapped by Daredevil. Cool character, right? Edgy character, violent. They put him into a TV show and it was fucking stupid. It was the dumbest thing ever.
I heard, because Ryan told me that day. I'm like, because I thought the first thing he was going to be in was that whatever the new movie coming out.
Thunderbolts.
I didn't realize, like many things, apparently he's in the TV show beforehand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets to that point where there's almost sometimes too much stuff and so on there, but I don't know. Right.
I mean, that film could be good.
It looked fun enough in the trailer. That's how I'll go see it. I'll check it out. There'll probably be, there's always some takeaways from it. I feel like the TV show stuff. It's like it's hard to keep up on all that stuff there.
There's too many of them.
I literally kind of run like an equation. I pretty much have enough time in the week to watch about the equivalent of like 3 to 4 movie lengths of stuff, which, that's not a whole lot, especially when like half the movies you have to watch are always like podcast ones. It sounds weird, but like it's like, oh, I gotta watch this for a podcast here and got this. And then next thing you know, it's like, I got about 1 free extra movie a week I can kind of see,
Right. And then you have new stuff that are coming out that, you want to watch or something that you missed.
Yeah. So there's that kind of too. And then a lot of times too, I always have kind of a rule of thumb that like, if I ever get the urge to watch an older movie, that always can outweigh, like an older classic movie can always outweigh anything new that I have yet to watch. And that kind of goes with a video game or a book or any of that kind of stuff. Like if you get the urge for like a classic, one that you may have already seen multiple times or something like that, it's like, no, that can always, take precedent over that for sure.
I'm doing that right now. I watched a thing that, they're going to make a new Mass Effect game. And I was like, oh, that's great. Because I actually enjoyed Mass Effect Andromeda. I didn't think it was a complete
I thought it was cool too. Yeah. It had more RPG
story building.
Yeah, it had the RPG element back. That was the thing I liked the most, because 2 and 3 pretty much like tossed the RPG element, especially 2, just like got rid of it almost completely. And then I felt like 4 brought it back pretty good.
Right, and it had a interesting combat system. It got repetitive because of the enemies a little bit, but it was still fun. Mm-hmm. But I saw that they were going to make a new one, right? So I'm starting to look up all the teaser trailer stuff, which I don't know if you've seen any of this. It kind of pisses me off a little bit, but there's a possibility they're going to bring Shepard back from the dead, or if you get the perfect ending in Mass Effect 3, Shepard's potentially alive.
Yeah.
But they're possibly going to inject Shepard into this new game.
Yeah, that seems silly.
It seems silly to me too.
I remember that was
enough to make me play through the whole trilogy again. So I'm on Mass Effect 3 right now.
Well, that's okay. That's always a good time anyways. I remember that was a complaint that somebody had about Mass Effect 4. They're like, yo, there's just no Shepard in it. I'm like, yeah, it's like a different story. Like, do you really...
They're not even in the same universe anymore.
Yeah, it's like anymore. 800 years or something different. So yeah, I thought that was such a strange complaint and so on, but yeah, whatever. People are saying.
Yeah, they basically leave around the same time I think Mass Effect 2's taking place. Like they leave the Milky Way galaxy or whatever completely. Like they're gone.
Yeah.
They're off in deep space.
That's it. Done. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a potential we'll get Shepard again, which I was like, this is very odd. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, and I hate to start saying, I could kind of care less. I feel like Shepard is really just like, isn't he just like the user character, like the avatar? Like,
How dare you?
He's pretty much whatever you are as the player is who's kind of like making the decisions. It's not necessarily, I feel like, and Shepard could be a man or a woman and have different looks and so on like that. So it's like, I feel
no. There's only one Shepard and it's Mel Shep. Okay. There's no female Shepard.
Mine was a female Shepard.
Get the fuck out of here. There's no female Shepard allowed.
All three of them, there was a female Shepard.
My favorite Shepard moment is in Mass Effect 3. Like, at least Shepard line is, do you remember the alien race, the Hanar? They're like the weird floating jellyfish that talk with their minds.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the indoctrinated Hanar. Mm-hmm. And you're hunting him down, right? And you confront the Hanar, and he basically admits to being indoctrinated and trying to like serve the Reapers. And Shepard has this line where he just like, because it's real fucking campy the way his character movements are, right? Real odd. So he just like points up at the Hanar and he goes, "You stupid jellyfish." It's so fucking stupid. I love it.
That's awesome.
It's great.
No, that set's excellent. I remember when they made the remaster came out, I bought that day one and played the living daylights through all three of them and all the DLC and so on. Right. Especially that DLC.
The DLCs are so good.
And they're literally longer than the regular game. That's the most mind-blowing part.
Right.
Because the normal game is only like maybe like 12 hours per each Mass Effect, but then you throw those DLCs in 2 and 3, and that's like an extra like 14 hours on each one of those.
Right. Yeah, it makes it so good. And then you got like awesome ones like the Omega DLC. We were like fighting to take back Omega. That one's awesome.
Yep. That's a cool one. Yeah, no, I mean, like that's like legitimate DLC, not just like, oh, here's kind of a little bonus level that you probably would never play again.
Right.
Or like, no, it was like, no, here's new character or new companions. Here's literally like, full on brand new stories that actually add up to stuff, and they're actually really fun and, give a lot more context. Yeah, I was pretty darn impressed with all that because I never had them back in the day because you just, didn't have the internet for 2 and 3 realistically, or you had to travel to find internet back in those days, so I never downloaded the extra DLCs. So that was the cool part about playing all those. I think I had DLCs on number 1. I think I did buy that, like whatever, the one where you go to the moon, the only DLC that's on there.
Right. I never played the Mass Effect games for a long time. It was like the end of the PlayStation 3 life cycle, and I think it was my wife's brother was like, "Yo, you ever play Mass Effect?" And I was like, "No, you got them? Like, I'll check them out." And he's like, "Hold on," and he bought me the collection that they had for PlayStation 3 with all the DLCs on it. So that's the only version I ever knew.
Well, that's the souped up version, yeah.
Right. It was, in my opinion, and I'm very uncultured when it comes to sci-fi stories. Obviously I said, Soldier's my favorite Kurt Russell movie, but that is my favorite science fiction story / setting of all time. I like it over anything else.
It really is. I feel like it does give like one of the best sci-fi experiences. I'll definitely say that 100% too. Like, because that was a game I remember I didn't think I was gonna like it actually when it first came out. I remember just looking at the preview, like, it just looks generic, whatever. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been fun, but it just didn't, like when you looked at it like in a magazine, it was just like, yeah, well. And then I remember like we had a buddy, and he was all like, dude, like, just give this a go. He's like, I think you'll really like it. I mean, okay, whatever. So I borrowed Mass Effect 1. And then I get that, and I literally played that game 3 times over. The second one was already out, but I didn't care. I played I was so into it, I played it 3 times before I even went out and got the second one. And I was like, wow, I actually extremely like that game. like a lot. Like I was so impressed by how good it was, and as I said, I didn't think I was gonna. I just thought it like when you looked at it before, just like whatever, kind of another generic. Looked almost like a Halo knockoff in a sense. Like that was just, like all I kind of thought. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And then it turns out I was like, oh no, there's a lot more going on here. It actually gives you almost like a very legitimate, almost like a Star Trek-y kind of like space opera experience.
Especially that first one. Like that first one it's crazy.
The first one's my favorite. That's the thing is like the first one I love it so much. And then I enjoy 2 and 3, but just not to the level of how much I love 1.
Right.
And I think I
like the space exploration in 1, and then like the RPG elements.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you called it a space opera, I called it a fucking space opera too. I get laughed at by some people when I say that, but
it's what it is.
I mean, that's what it's epic.
Yeah, it's epic.
It's grand in scale. And it also delivers, at least at that time, when it comes to video games, like your choice matters in a game. How many fucking times have we been sold that growing up playing video games like we have through multiple console generations? And it's only true to a certain point. And then that one kind of delivers on it pretty fucking well.
Especially the first one, because the first one, that was why I almost played it multiple times over, because it's like it legitimately did change a lot of stuff. The downfall is by the time you get to like the second and I think it's almost even by like the third one, it's almost like they don't give you enough choices. I kind of felt, because it's like perfect example.
It becomes less important.
Yeah, it doesn't really make too much of a difference, because like you should be able to be like go full Cerberus. That was the thing that always kind of bothered me. You can't do really anything like that. It's like you should be able to be like, yeah, I'll go full Cerberus. Like let's go this direction. But the game doesn't give you that choice in a sense.
Well, if you do that in 3, or if you do that through the game leading up to 3, all that happens is everybody fucking dies. You get the worst fucking ending. Yeah, you get the worst ending.
Yeah, I think they should have had it where like if you could go the Cerberus route and then like do like one of those ones where like you think that's going to be leading towards a bad ending and it doesn't. Like maybe it does have a completely different like effect, Right. But yeah, that's like my only complaint. Even though I don't get me wrong, I still love 2 and 3 quite a bit, but like it's that one where like I wish there was like that change. Like in the first one, it felt like there was so many radical things you could kind of choose in there that would just really shift that story, and then even into 2 as well, because that was the cool part, is it carried on over like your actions and so on like that. But
well, you could tell like up to 2 is when it started to get rushed. Yeah. Right. They're like, come on, we got to pump this out. We got to keep that gravy train going. When's the next Dragon Age coming out? Hurry the fuck up and give us the next Mass Effect.
Yeah, exactly. We got to get this going. Like Fox News is complaining about fucking space titties. Like, we got to run with this.
Right. You can't have every game developer and like studio head or, unless you have like a powerful creative force like a Hideo Kojima, who could sit there and have I don't even know what to call it, because it's not balls, because he eventually got fired. I guess like that gravitas, that power within the industry to be like, no, fuck you, I'm going to make the game I want, bitch.
Yeah.
It'll come out when it comes out.
Yeah, there's a few people like Hideo for the most part until towards the end, and Shigeru Miyamoto, and so like who's gonna tell Shigeru what to do?
Yeah, can't. You fucking can't.
No, there's certain ones, but not everybody kind of gets that. And once you got sucked into that EA train and you started making money, then you gotta keep pumping them out.
And the studio grows so much, because I mean, like from Mass Effect, BioWare? Yeah, they grew so fucking much. Like if you look at all the games that came out around the same time as Mass Effect, it's crazy, because it's just banger after banger. All just between Dragon Age and Mass Effect, they made tons of money.
And they did the Sonic the Hedgehog RPG.
Right.
That literally has like Mass Effect like choices in it.
Can you imagine you're some dude who like, you're working on Mass Effect, they're like, all right, Steve.
Yeah, guess what you got next? You're doing the Sonic the Hedgehog DS RPG.
He's like sleeping under his desk, just like, oh god, just overworked.
Overworked, probably not really as underpaid as sometimes they make it out to be.
Right.
But yeah, but no,
I don't have high hopes for the new Mass Effect game, but
yeah.
maybe it'll be good.
Know. Yeah. I like to keep an optimistic vision. You never know. It could be fun.
I'd be stoked for a continuation to find out what happened after, the end of Andromeda, because I enjoyed the game. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. I want to give that one another playthrough as well too, because I did too. I literally had nothing to really complain about Andromeda. I don't remember. I know everybody else for some reason seemed to have some issue with it, but I thought it was overall. I thought it was pretty darn solid. It came out right around something else, so I kind of got a little bit distracted. I remember, but
it had its problems. Like, it had some weird glitches. For sure.
Yeah, there was some glitches, at least initially. I don't know if by now maybe they've been fixed a little bit, but
they fixed a bunch of them. Like, as I played through it, and I think I beat it twice.
Yeah.
But it started to get better around the second time around. Like, my second playthrough, no weird facial expressions where they're just frozen. Like, Ryder. Your sister is not waking up, or whatever the fuck they're saying.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest complaint is, you have the collection that came out for Mass Effect, so you're able to speed through all 3 games. And Mass Effect 2 and 3, minus the DLCs, 2 is a little bit slower, it's a quicker pace than 1, but it's slower than 3. When 3 is just a mad dash through the universe, right? And it's just action-packed the whole time.
Yeah.
You basically have set level designs where you're going from point A to point B, completing objectives till you get there, and you're just fucking killing waves of enemies, spamming fucking biotic powers or whatever you have.
Yeah.
Doing team combos, and I think it spoiled people a little bit. One, because you already had an established story, and Andromeda had to build a new story from scratch.
Yeah.
They could have just throw you into a mad dash to the end. That wouldn't make any fucking sense.
No,
that game would have sucked just as hard.
Yeah, you had to build this up,
Right, and it was getting there. The story was actually pretty compelling. It wasn't as cool as Mass Effect, the main trilogy, because how do you beat impending doom with the Reapers? But
yeah,
it wasn't bad. It was a good story.
I think that one was pretty darn solid too. As I said, I keep thinking about because after I played the Mass Effect trilogy remastered, I was like, I want to give another run to Andromeda, and then by the time I finished, I was like, well, 70 hours in, I think I'll take a break for a moment, and then I'll come back to it. But now that we're talking about more, I almost kind of feel like I think it's got to go back on the list again and get played.
Right. I'm going to do it as soon as I beat 3.
Yeah. So that's not the best time. Is when you got that gusto going, and you're like, okay, we're just going to marathon these and keep going while the going's good. Yeah, I think so.
Well, it'll be a good comparison, too, because, I have my opinions, but I played Andromeda way after playing through Mass Effect the first time.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. No. I want to do the same thing too. I want to give that one another go because, as I said, I really had nothing to complain about when I was playing it. So it just
right. And now you really won't have time.
No, yeah, exactly. Well, I always make sure you got to have a little bit of game time in life and so on like that for sure. That's always the must. But yeah.
Have you picked up anything new, game wise?
Yes, I have. Let's see, what the heck was well, I've been playing Sniper Elite 5 or 6 technically. One of the new ones I've been playing, and then the hell else did? Oh, I got this
on
one
on your MetaQuest or whatever.
No. This one's just it's on Series X and PS5 and probably PS4 I think actually too. But just as good as always. I fucking love Sniper Elite games.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking of Silent Scope. I'm fucking tired.
Well, it's kind of like Silent Scope, except for you run around, and I always felt like
that's the World War II one, the D-Day one, the new one that just came out, right?
Yeah, well, it's not D-Day. This one's all French, Revolution, or whatever, French Resistance, not Revolution. Okay. But so it's kind of like that. You play as this new guy, so you're not playing as the same dude who's been in all the other Sniper Elite ones. You're playing as this kind of different British operative guy, and yeah, it's more of the same, but still just fun as fucking ever. Like you're sneaking into places,
so fun, dude.
You're setting traps and whatnot,
shooting Nazis in the nutsack.
Yeah, exactly, and just shoot them in the fucking eyes and watching their heads blow out and whatnot. Like, yeah, it's still just as good as ever. It's like literally one of my favorite modern series, even though I know it's been out for like 20 plus years by this point, so I don't think it's that modern anymore. But like it's one of those ones. Like the way I always look at it is like the gameplay is like it's in a sense, even though it did it beforehand, but it's kind of like what Metal Gear Solid 5's gameplay should have been like. Like it's like it does that perfect where it's like you have all the stealth. It's got the small. I always call it small open world because it's like everything's like a level, and
right.
so you got here's your objectives, but you can kind of go about them whatever which way you want. Which I think is like one of my favorite parts is you could literally go in there guns a blazing. You could set traps. You could go in there stealthy. You could go in there and use non-lethal guns if you want to. You could go in there and slowly murder every single person in the level. Like it gives you all these like options, and I think that's like one of the coolest parts, and I've always had so much fun with those ones. I'm only about 3 or 4 levels into this because just a bit of mixed match of me playing that, and then the new Tomb Raider remastered collection came out that had 4, 5, and Angel of Darkness, and I was so glad because Angel of Darkness is one of those ones I've always really wanted to play. I've had it on PS2 and PC for a long time, but the downfall is they jacked up the controls on that game. It's like and this happened to a lot of PS2 era games, is where people are like, well, I think we need to change up from that PlayStation 1 era stuff. Like, let's try something different. And when they tried something different, it's like, no, dude, like the controls were totally fine already in 1 through 5. They're like technically perfect for that style of game. And then they try to mess with them in Angel of Darkness, and then it just made it almost kind of unplayable. Like you could, but you almost have to totally relearn, the stuff.
That's unfortunate.
So this new remaster just says like, fuck it, you fix the controls however you want, and so I just made them literally like it's Tomb Raider 1 through 5, and
nice.
Making progress through that, and yeah, it's pretty cool. It's one of those games like. It's, it always was a kind of a game that was trying to be a lot more than it probably needed to be. It literally has like the Tomb Raider elements, of course, but then it tries to be kind of Metal Gear Solid 2-ish. Then it tries to be very Shenmue. I kind of forgot about that. Like, oh yeah, there's a lot of Shenmue stuff going on in here. You forget how big of an influence that was on so many things. So
it's fucking great.
Yeah, because Shenmue's fucking amazing. You know what I mean? I went back and played that not too long, well, maybe a couple years ago, but like Shenmue once again, on like when they had that PS4, whatever remaster of it. And it still holds up pretty darn well. I think it'd be a kind of a hard sell if you didn't play it back in the day, because I think it would just seem too slow and everything like that. But if you just remember the Dreamcast era, like it takes you back and you get fucking really nostalgic.
Right. Yeah, because you would have like a couple fighting parts, right? And you're like, man, the fighting elements in this game are really phenomenal. And then you go and you drive a forklift for 5 hours straight.
Go do your fucking 9-to-5 job. At the fucking docks.
Yeah.
And that game has a lot of that where like you're just kind of running around, you're talking to random people trying to get clues to figure out where to go next, because the thing is that game was it was trying to be very realistic for the most part, that game. So by being realistic, it kind of slows everything down a little bit and so on, and then Sega took that style and put it into like the Yakuza games and then just sort of amped it up a little bit, so it kind of has like, it plays like Shenmue, but then the combat's almost more like you're playing like a Dynamite Cop, in a sense.
Yeah. That's cool.
But
I've been playing, besides Mass Effect, I've been playing Earth Defense Force 6.
Oh no, is that like the newer one? I don't even know if I have.
That's the newest one that just came out.
Okay, that's cool. I haven't played that one then, because I have a handful of them on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's basically the same one as 5. They just improved, they improved little things. I mean, the story's a little different. I don't want to give any of it away because it's hilarious. Once if you do get it one day.
Yeah, I probably will. I always like those games. They're super fun.
Yeah, I fucking love those games. They're so fun online. It's fun murdering giant ants and weird lizard creatures.
Yeah, just all these
Makes
like
me happy.
gigantic enemies and so on like that too. Yeah. No, that one's really fun. I didn't realize there was a new one out, but yeah, I'll have to check that out. So there's a handful of games. I've been playing like with Cameron. We've been doing some survival horror games. So he never played through Resident Evil 5, so I played through that with him. And I fucking always love Resident Evil 5. I think that's one of the most.
It's one of the best.
It's so good. Like it's like one of those ones like. Like whenever people don't like Resident Evil 5, sometimes I always kind of feel like you must not like fun. That's all I have to say.
Dude, it's one of the best ever. Especially once you get like a couple completions in, you get some of the weapon unlocks, and you're like, okay, let the good times roll.
Yeah, just gonna go around.
What are we doing today? We doing machine guns with unlimited ammo? We gonna, oh fuck. My favorite
bow and arrow, got the rifles,
Right. My favorite way, just because I've beaten it so many times playing it with people, I like trying to see how fast I could beat that game. Like it's been a running thing. I don't remember what my overall time is at this point, but like we'll sit there. I have a buddy. His name's Adam. He's like super into this, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll go through and we'll be like, okay, we're gonna play like stage 4. And we're just going to keep getting our time down like lower and lower and lower as we beat this. So it's like, one person's carrying a rocket launcher. The other one's carrying like a, shotgun with unlimited ammo or something like that. And you're just trying to figure out the perfect combination to get the lowest completion time.
Yeah, just speed running it.
Well, that's what you do after you've beaten that game, like like an ungodly amount of times. You know what I mean? You're just like, let's go.
Yeah, literally, I've literally since day one of that game beaten it so many times, and it's always fun every single time. That, and then it's got the best mercenaries on it. That's the thing, is that mercenary mode's so good. Yeah,
it's a perfect co-op game. Like it's perfect.
I literally still keep saying that I think that's my favorite co-op game of all time. Gears of War is pretty darn close, but Resident Evil 5.
Gears is great.
Well, that's the good eras. I feel like that 360 PS3 era was just the ultimate couch co-op because you had Gears of War, you had Halo, you had Resident Evil 5, you had Resistance, you had
I'm partial to Dynasty Warriors because
Dynasty Warriors is always good.
Gundam Warriors.
Yeah, there's
Kane and Lynch, Army of Two. Army of Two is so good. I just bought Army of Two. Like no shit. Like I bought it for my PlayStation 3 that I still have, and I started to play through it, but I can't play it on my own. I have to play it with somebody else. Yeah, but it's sitting in my living room for when somebody comes over, and I'm like, "You want to play games?"
Yeah, here we go. Well, that's the thing is, I feel like Army of Two is one of those ones. I never played it single player, but I feel like some of those ones, it's like if you don't play it with somebody else, it's like you're not really getting the full experience.
You have to. It's better with two people.
Yeah, like I feel like
it's like Steven and Brian, going into the fire. They need to be together.
They need to be that, because that's the whole moral of that movie, is that those brothers need to get together. After all this time, they, really at the end of the day, they know they love each other, and they just got to be the best of brothers in the firehouse together.
Exactly.
And just if figure out how to get those wives and girlfriends back. I don't know.
Or ditch them, because clearly everybody's gay in that firehouse.
Yeah, exactly.
The shower's right next to you.
Yeah, you got 16 choices, but you stand right next to the guy, there, and then talk about how much you love that fire. It's better than flying a fucking F-16. Yeah. And saving your dad in some, mysterious Iraq country that's not Iraq.
Exactly.
Or Iran or whatever the hell it's supposed to be. But yeah, fuck it. At the end of the day, good games and Backdraft. You know what's a weird one though is like I'm kind of surprised speaking of video games. I'm surprised there was never a Backdraft video game, to tell you the truth.
Is there even like a firefighter game other than Firefighter Simulator?
There is one on Super Nintendo called Ignition Factor that I found out like only a few years ago or something like that, and which is kind of like one of those ones like that. Just
were you scrolling through an emulator?
No, I can't remember. No, I think it popped up somewhere else because I must have passed it many a time scrolling on the emulator because, there is always that period where you feel like, yeah, I've played all like the Super Nintendo games, and then every once in a while there'll be one that sneaks up on me. I'm like, oh, I didn't know about this. And I think it popped up somewhere, and I saw the screenshots. I'm like, oh, it's a Firefighter fucking thing. I'm like, that's fucking badass. And it's like a top-down view, almost kind of looks like the True Lies Arnold Schwarzenegger game, and you run through the building, and you got to put fires out and so on and make your way through. I think you save people and so on. It was kind of cool. It was not as good as I was kind of hoping it was going to be, but still neat in itself. But it is kind of weird how you don't really see a whole lot of... You think Firefighter games would be kind of a... Like, why not? Like...
Especially in VR. Like, one day, that'd be
pretty badass.
Probably incredible.
But it's kind of weird that, like, it's just like... There's very few games where you actually play as cops, if you really think about it, too. I don't know why. You never really do.
Best cop game's Time Crisis. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I think they're cops.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know they kill a lot of people.
Because I remember there was one of those fucking I'm drawing a blank. The game that's not Call of Duty, but the other one.
Battlefield.
So there's
Hotline or something like that.
Battlefield, yeah, the one where like, I was like, oh, that's badass. You play as a cop and everything like that. And for like the first 2 levels, yeah, you played as a cop and it was really cool. And then about like another level or so into it, it's like, oh, you're not a cop anymore. Now you're on like the run and everything like that. I'm like, well, now it's not really a cop game anymore. Like, I liked when I was a cop and you could go in there and you could fucking arrest the guys and everything like that, and you like fucking zip tie them behind and whatnot. I'm like, that's fucking badass, because I always liked that arrest element. I remember like there was the Judge Dredd game on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and you could arrest the guys in it. I'm like, that's fucking cool. Like very few things ever do that. And yeah, that was the thing about that Battlefield Hardline or whatever the heck it was. Like, still cool, but like I was kind of disappointed once it like the cop element kind of went away about a couple of levels into it.
Right. Have you seen any footage of that cop game where it's like you go in, it's like you're responding to like some sort of call, like either like it's like a drug house or hostage situation, and it's like that. Fuck.
Is it like? Because I know there is some cop indie games.
I think it's like a PC. I think it's like a PC game. I think it's an indie game.
Because there is some of those ones where like, yeah, where like you kind of, there's one where you run it from like the station, and I think it's almost kind of like a simulation type game in a sense. And then there is some other ones. And of course there's like, of course old school side scrollers and so on like that. But it's just weird that like it's not as common as you would think to play as a cop in a video game.
Well, now they're not very popular.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're definitely not going to make them now. You know what I mean? Maybe in the 2000s we could have got a little bit more of it, but like, yeah, unless it was like
a Judge Dredd one though. Like, come on, people.
Yeah, the last Judge Dredd one was Judge Dredd versus Judge Death or whatever. Came out in like GameCube era.
Right, make a first-person shooter Judge Dredd. Just make it like Doom.
That's what
style.
That one was. That's literally what that
was. It
kind of was. Yeah, it was kind of like picture Judge Dredd sort of looking in maybe a give or take Half-Life 2 kind of era look.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
It was pretty cool, actually. I've always kind of wanted to give it more of a go. I have it on PC, and it is pretty darn neat, Because like, I remember that. I'm like, how did I not know about this? Because it literally came out on PS2 and GameCube and all that stuff. I don't remember ever running across it. But, yeah, so there is something like that.
I dig it.
I love some Judge Dredd, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Give me a Judge Dredd first-person shooter, voiced by Carl Urban, and I'll be just happier than shit.
Yeah, there we go. That'd be perfect, But yeah, it's weird how there isn't like, yeah, you think that almost Backdraft would have had a tie-in game. I know it's just that kind of weird era where it's like the movie comes out in 91, so it's like probably still a little bit before Super Nintendo. You'd be on the tail end of NES. You could do it on Genesis, I guess, but
right. It probably would not be a very good game.
Well, that I think is the thing too, is because Backdraft's like, because it's a rated R movie, which is weird. And when I think about it, I don't think of that movie being a rated R movie. But then you watch it, you're like, oh no, it's a rated R movie.
Right.
They want to get that where it's like, oh yeah, they're swearing left and right, just like good firefighters should be doing, and all that.
They
kind of
should
stuff.
be.
Yeah, guys get blown up in it and so on like that. So it's cool that it is rated R, because it feels like it would be a PG-13 movie, but I'm glad that it's not. I'm glad they go to distance to make it kind of feel like no, it's fucking, you know, some serious shit, you know. But it has that feeling like a rated R movie that like a kid could kind of go see and be like, that's okay. It's like Passion of the Christ, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it might be rated R, but we're gonna let little Billy go in anyways. He's got to see these firefighters in action, just like he's got to see like Mel Gibson, you know, show how Jesus Christ got put on the cross.
Did you hear like Mel Gibson's like interview that he did on Joe Rogan's podcast, talking about how he's gonna make a sequel?
Yeah.
What the
fuck? Sequel where Jesus rises 3 days later, you know?
Yeah. Like the way he was describing it, I'm like, I first off, I trust anything Mel Gibson decides to make. I'm like, fucking take my money, Mel.
Yeah, did you see Flight Risk?
You need a place to stay? You want to stay on my bed? You know, you could fucking have it, Mel Gibson.
Yeah, 100%.
You need to use my car?
Did you see Flight Risk yet?
I have not. I have it on my list to watch.
It's fucking amazing. Like I saw it in cinemas and it was like, I'm like definitely going on my top 10 list. I can already tell of the year. It's fucking that good. It's Mel Gibson once again. It's that good. And it literally all takes place like in a fucking little airplane, and that's what makes it so badass.
Right.
It's both like exciting, funny, like, you know, a little bit scary, like all at once.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. Like the motherfucker's so talented.
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep seeing people talking, like big stars basically being like, yo, we got to forgive Mel Gibson. We got to let him back in.
He's too good. He's too good to not, like, you know. And once again, it's like that movie right there just kind of proves it once more. It's like, one, they shun him from his name being on the fucking like title card and poster and all that stuff. But it's like you watch it and you go, dude, that movie's so good. And it's like, it's literally a bottle film of all things, like just a simple concept, but like you're there. And Marky Mark, fucking Topher Grace, they're all fucking excellent in it.
Right. Well, it was a throwaway film from him, basically. He was just like, oh, yeah, you know, it's just something fun.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it was.
And that was it. That's all he had to say about it, really. Like, oh, yeah, it was a fun little idea.
Yeah.
You know, we shot it.
Yeah, and it's super good. It's like one of those ones. I was so excited the more I thought about the movie, I'm like, man, that's a fucking great movie, whole way through, perfect length, everything like that. Dialed in. So yeah, I hope we just get more Mel Gibson because he's the fucking best.
I know he's one of those weird characters to where it's like, I don't know. It's a shame, you know. Like one of you know, I could go out on a limb and say one of our fucking, you know, movie icon heroes growing up. Like, I want to be 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I ever think. If I watch Lethal Weapon or any of that stuff, it's like, I still feel like there's my guy right there. I ate dog biscuits because Mel Gibson ate those in Lethal Weapon 3.
Right. Right. I thought about shaving my legs because of Mel Gibson and What a Woman Wants.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that fucking in theaters too. I remember I went there for like it was like sort of a friend I grew up with. It was like her like birthday party of all like I guess her girlfriends or whatever, and then I was like the one token boy there. Like, yeah, it's got fucking Mel Gibson in it. Of course I'm gonna be here.
Oh yeah, I'll come to your birthday.
Yeah, probably I was only like 10 or whatever because that movie came out in like 97 or whatnot. But
oh, that's hilarious.
But I hope that Mel Gibson finally can. I think there is some people coming around, but it still feels like it's such an uphill battle he has to fight to get there. And it's just like, dude,
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, you got literally like a guy who's not only one of the best actors, let's be honest, almost close to the best actor around. And then he also is like a phenomenal director too, to top it all off.
Right. His vision when he's putting these movies together, like, fuck, you just run through the list, but you know, I always go back to Heartbreak, or was it Heartbreak?
No, Heartbreak Ridge? No, it's Hacksaw. I always want to say Heartbreak Ridge. That's the Clint Eastwood one. Yeah. Speaking of Clint Eastwood again, he keeps coming up.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, fucking that movie is like the perfect war movie.
It's so good, you know, action-packed, good story, great characters, you know.
Right.
All just really dialed in. Yeah.
It upsets me. Now I gotta watch We Were Soldiers again.
That's a super good movie too.
Son of a bitch. My wife's gonna be pissed. She's gonna be like, this fucking movie again, dude. It's We Were Soldiers and Master and Commander are like two movies where she's just like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, God, Master and Commander's a great one too.
She fucking hates that movie. She hates it so much. One time I put it, because I'll just put it on. I don't know why. I fucking love that movie so much, but like, it'll be on, and you know how they do the little like ship like whistle like to call everybody to like do whatever. I don't know. It's just some whistle they use on boats back in the day.
Yeah.
She'll hear that, and I'll hear her in another room, and she'll just be like, "What the fuck?"
Trigger word is the whistle.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, "God damn it."
Oh man, but yeah. No, we'll have to watch some more Mel Gibson soon in the future and so on like that. But yeah, we probably should wrap that up there. We need last thoughts on Backdraft. I know we talked about a bunch of other stuff for a while there, but final words on that.
Backdraft.
We did. We went down it, and there is a lot of good stuff there. I think it's one of those movies that, like, because I do think there's a lot of people that have probably no idea what this movie is, or maybe have heard of it, but watched it, because
it's forgotten. Yeah,
if you were about pretty much 10 years past the 90s, it's like, forget about it.
Yeah. Why would you?
And it's kind of like that's actually how a lot of Ron Howard movies sort of kind of are. Like, they're fucking huge when they come out, and then they're kind of like forgotten.
Yeah. When's the last time someone talked about Apollo 13?
That's the one I was going to bring up, is Apollo 13. That movie was so big when we were kids, and it's like I'd never
fucking huge.
Yeah. Willow was another one that was really fucking big, and disincluding that, like, they did do that Disney Plus, whatever that was, so that kind of brought it back a little bit, but for the longest time, that was totally a forgotten film too, Yeah, so much of his stuff.
It's forgotten like his hair, bro.
Yeah, his hair was gone real fast. His hair's gone. Dude, it's like it was gone in like... Actually, I want to say, I was looking at some of the special features on Backdraft. I think he actually still had some hair. I don't know, maybe he had a hat on. So probably he didn't. Yeah, he probably started wearing the hat.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's still cool. And the fact is, it's like the special effects and the stunts, like, that's like, I think the biggest selling point to it, that like probably any modern firefighting movies, they're going to use a lot of CG. They're going to use, where this movie, they literally have a real fucking fire and the real fucking actors running through that fire. Everybody's getting slightly burnt here and there. They fucking light some of the guys on fire, yeah, there's all sorts of... There was literally a guy that was like... Their firefighter guy who was pretty much there to kind of like, tell them how everything goes. He's like, in 30 years on the force, I never got burnt. On fucking Backdraft, I got burnt.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah.
Dude, that era of special effects, like, I watched your clip on the helicopter movie from the 90s.
Fucking... It was from 83.
83.
That movie was fucking ridiculous, dude. It has this like last 20 minutes of it. Blue Thunder is what it's called. The last 20 minutes, like the helicopter scenes in fucking Los Angeles, is like, how did they? Even back then, I'm like, how did they get allowed to shoot some of this stuff? It is gnarly how realistic it is, and how like low they're flying.
That's how they got the green light.
Yeah, exactly. That's at that time period and so on like that, and they blow shit up and everything like that. And it's just like, oh my gosh.
Right. But I mean, we don't get special effects like that anymore. That was back that era. Like, there was a certain window where they put money into making shit go boom.
Yeah. Well, and I still call it, because it's like the 90s is almost like the most magical area of like what you would call movie magic, where like shit's just like firing on all cylinders. It's almost like cinema's at like its peak of like perfection. Like the
animatronics were at their high point.
Yeah, like, and everything's coming together. So it's like they have really good, like, real special effects, really good makeup special effects, and then CG just there to be like a sprinkle on the top, like Jurassic Park, like some other films and so on. Terminator as well, Terminator 2. So you have all these things coming together. And then I feel like once it gets to about the 2000s, and it's not saying that there's tons of great movies in that time period, but that's when like the CG starts to take over, movie scope starts to come down a little bit more, and they just don't feel as big and as like almost like the magic of cinema, like that kind of phrase that you would always hear, like it kind of goes away as like time goes on.
Dude, like a great example when did Troy come out?
That's like 2004. That's like
so,
in that.
So early-ish. Yeah. Okay, so you got Troy, and then you compared that to 300.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of silly, but it's like big, expansive shots, lots of fucking extras on crew, the weapons, the armor, the horses, the boats, all the shit with some sprinkling of CG, right?
Yeah.
And then you have 300 filmed in a fucking warehouse.
Well, the thing about
Maybe
300,
a small room.
I remember the first time I watched the special features on that movie, and it's like the movie, like when they show like the behind the scenes stuff, it looks like the cheapest fucking thing ever. It looks like it's like shot at like a high school like play, and they just put a blue screen up behind it, and everybody's wearing like fucking cheap like Halloween costume Roman outfits running around,
right?
And you're like, the fuck? Yeah, I feel like that there was I always say about there must have been a producer sitting there like like just going like
how is this gonna make fucking money?
Oh my god, we are so fucking dead right now. What did we sign on for? Yeah, like you know that like
it's a Zack Snyder film, right?
It's Zack Snyder.
So. Yeah. Okay, so I've seen, I couldn't remember if it was him, but I've seen him talking about it, and I'm pretty sure he filmed that in like just a couple months.
Yeah.
And then like their budget was small as fuck.
Yeah. But it's like one of those ones that they learned that like, oh shit, because that's like kind of like one of the first movies where they're like, oh, we can almost just CG in everything.
Right. That's a turning point movie.
It is, and it's a good, it's a great movie and all that kind of stuff. But it is one of those ones that like, yeah, it's like that's where it kind of changes and things, because it's weird. Like even in the CG thing, it's almost like you can see the world kind of. It doesn't feel as big. Like you almost still see the walls and so on like that. Right. Where like you see these older movies in the '90s, and I especially think of a lot of like Kevin Costner movies. Those are the ones that seem like fucking huge. Waterworld, Dances with Wolves,
Open Range.
Postman. Well, yeah, for a new one, Open Range. Which sadly didn't work out the way they intended.
Horizons.
Yeah, Horizon. That's the one I was thinking of. But yeah, all those old Kevin Costner ones, even fucking Wyatt Earp and all that stuff, they feel fucking huge and just like ginormous. And of course, like obviously they spent some cash back then that they don't do the same way nowadays. But that's how Backdraft feels though. Is it has that like it does feel fucking, especially that last scene. You're like, what the serious?
It's big.
Yeah, it's a huge set, blowing shit up and everything like that.
All of it is like them going through the city on the fire trucks, all the fire spots. I don't know. There's something about the feel that you get when you watch a film, and it has real dirty special effects, like just nasty, in your face, dangerous.
Yep. Yeah.
It gives it an edge.
You got to have a little bit of danger. I feel like that's just kind of how you have to make movies. They can't be all soft. If they're soft, it's, you know what I mean? Like that's sort of what adds to it. If you don't have real stuntmen and you don't have, situations that like, okay, we got to be a little bit careful here, but we're going to try something that nobody's ever done before. I think that's what makes stuff. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the cool thing is that the fact that like this movie really doesn't, I don't think it has any CG in it for the most part, because I remember Ron Howard's like, yeah, we're going to give the CG thing a go, and we got the stuff back, and I was like, what the serious fuck is it? No. Ron Howard just flips out like, it looks like fucking shit. I'm Ronnie fucking Howard.
He's just back.
Do you know who I fucking am? Yeah.
You're gonna make me call George?
Don't make me get the George over here. You know what I mean? He'll loom in like a storm cloud on you.
Calls in Henry Winkler just to like beat on him.
Yeah, exactly. Henry Winkler's still like living in his parents' house. But yeah, so it's like they're like, no, the CG is not good enough yet, because really at this point, like, what do you got for the most part? You have T2, but it works because of the way that the T1000 sort of designed. You got the Abyss, and you got like the young Sherlock Holmes with its fucking like stained glass knight that jumps out. But those things are all kind of designed in a special way.
Right. Well, I keep thinking of like early CG that's not very good, like Michael J. Fox film, The Frighteners or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
Just go back and just YouTube some clips from that flick, and you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, the ghost apparition parts are a little silly.
It's weird. The farther we get from that kind of stuff, though, as I do get kind of nostalgic for that weird, like, early CG look. Like, I don't know what it is. There's something kind of like, because that stuff's like, it's so fake looking, but it's almost like, it kind of reminds me in the sense the way that like stop motion and kind of like claymation stuff is. Like, you know, it's not, you could tell 100% it's not real, but it's almost like has a life of its own that makes it feel like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool looking. And I feel that's how old CG looks, is it has its own kind of, you know, it's like when you see fucking Quest World from like Johnny Quest and like the Real Adventures, you know, like,
oh yeah.
You see that and you're like, it's actually kind of cool looking. It makes me feel like I want to sort of weirdly be in this world that, like, even though it is kind of stilted and so on like that, but it does still have this weird nostalgic expanse to it. But yeah,
right.
But yeah, Backdraft. You know what I mean? Great movie.
Watch it.
Not perfect, but still fun as fuck. You know, even if there is some goofs in between and some mysterious story connections, how it all goes. But
watch it because Kurt Russell's mustache told you to. Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean? And, you know, just because you see him die once doesn't mean he can't be resurrected and then come back and die again in the movie.
Right. And if you drink every time he drinks, you'll have a good fucking time.
The drinking game of fucking Backdraft. Every single time Kurt Russell's drinking, you gotta have a drink with him, a full drink.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, check that out. Then you can also, I'll put the links in for all the other podcasts, comic books, and all the other fun time stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
And we'll see you some other time.